Well, welcome back to Optus Stadium. A beautiful night in Perth, and round 11 is the Sir Doug Nicholls Indigenous round, named after Sir Doug, who epitomised the spirit of reconciliation. Of course, former Fitzroy footballer, Governor of South Australia, and first Aboriginal person to be knighted. We'll head downstairs to the Welcome to Country ceremony tonight, performed by Phil Narkle, the West Coast Aboriginal Liaison Officer, former Sandover medalist, former Saint and inaugural West Coast Eagle, and St Kilda legend in Nicky Winmar, of course, 230 games, 2 best and fairest, 2 All-Australians, a St Kilda Team of the Century member, and a WA Football Hall of Famer.
Kaya Kudas, Wanju, Nichinunga Buja. Hello friends, welcome to our country. My name is Phil Magic Nark. My tribal name is Coriol. I would like to welcome you all here today on Noongar country. I would like to pay respects to the elders, both past and present, of the Noongar nation, and extend that respect to other Aboriginal Australians and non-Aboriginal Australians that are present. This welcome brings good spirits to provide safe passage for all those who enter and walk the pathway. Please remember, don't keep Aboriginal history a mystery. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we'd like to invite the Indigenous representatives from both teams to exchange gifts to mark this occasion. Please put your hands together for our presentation, ladies and gentlemen, here today.
Well, a terrific ceremony and great to be celebrating Indigenous round. Excellent to have Nicky Winmar here at Optus Stadium as well. The St Kilda legend, born in WA, and it's been 25 years since he took a stand for his culture at Victoria Park in what became an iconic image. There's certainly been many fantastic Indigenous players in the AFL, and we celebrate them in this round, the Sir Doug Nicholls round. Willie Rioli is one of those Indigenous players, and what a mark he's been making, Matthew Pavlich, for the West Coast Eagles in a short space of time this season.
Yeah, he's had a terrific year. You're right, Paps. Yeah, really come on this year. I think they've always rated his talent, but last week, you can see there on screen, had a big impact on that game against Hawthorn, and is really a strong reason why this West Coast team has had such a great start to the season.
Really looking forward to seeing what St Kilda can offer up tonight, Pat.
Yep.
I mean, everyone's come here and everyone that's tuned in probably expects top of the table West Coast to give a St Kilda team that's sitting down near the bottom of the table a bit of a hiding tonight. They've got no Carlisle, no Brown as key defenders. So they get Logan, Logan Austin comes in, and Marshall is going to have to play key defensive posts as well. They're going to need an 18-man focus in terms of a team defence out there, otherwise they're going to get cut up. But it's that sort of challenge that sometimes brings a good response from teams with their backs to the wall.
Particularly away from home, for whatever reason, there's a sense of less pressure. You get away together, you spend a little bit of time celebrating or preparing for the game, and maybe that can bring out the best of them.
Well, the exchange in the middle, Jade Gresham in there for the Saints. He actually had a hand in designing the Indigenous jumper for St Kilda, along with his mum, Michelle, and the graphic designer at the St Kilda Footy Club. And it is fantastic to see the Indigenous players from both sides out there in the middle for the toss of the coin, as we wait to see who will win that to kick us off tonight. And it will be West Coast. Lewis Jetta, a bit of confusion maybe as to which way they're going to go between Brendan Archie and Lewis Jetta, but we're not too far away. Your final thoughts, Matthew Pavlich, Jason Dunstall before the bounce.
Well, look, I think everyone probably thinks coming here tonight it should be a pretty easy game for West Coast to take care of, but looking forward to seeing what St Kilda can do.
Very much in the same boat, expecting West Coast to show us why they're sitting on top of the table. And these are the games when they can continue to build percentage, put themselves in a really good position as they try to lock down a top 4 and then a top 2 position as the second half of the season unfolds. If you can get to the bye in this sort of shape, well, it just sets your season up so well. And St Kilda, virtually every week's the last roll of the dice for them. They've got to start showing something.
Well, it's the Saints' second trip to Optus Stadium. They're here just 3 weeks ago to take on Fremantle, where they went down by 30 points. And it really has been a different tale this season for both of these sides. West Coast's only loss of the season came in round 1. St Kilda's only win of the season coming in round 1 when they beat the Brisbane Lions. And West Coast winning streak, 9 in a row at the moment, their 3rd longest in their club's history. They're looking to make it 10 tonight.
The Eagles starting with all their tall timber down there. You've got Lysette, Kennedy down forward, along with Darling, of course. Jeremy McGovern, important player to West Coast defence. He's got Membrey at the moment down the St Kilda forward line end.
Just repeating Luke Shuey, that late out tonight for West Coast as well. And we're set to go round 11. The Eagles and the Saints from Optus Stadium. It's Hickey who's favoured by the bounce to get things underway. Steele there, Gresham flash past. But Cripps will get the first meaningful possession away. Billings copped a bad bounce. Shepherd's handball was knocked down. Well followed up by Billings, got it to Stephen. Quick entry inside 50, but it'll be chopped off by Jeremy McGovern, who does that so well.
And that's the one thing St Kilda don't want to see. Intercept marks, particularly Jeremy McGovern just picking them off at will.
Jackson Nelson back into the side for tonight's match. Has been in and out of the 22. Tom Barras.
And this is their
big switch.
This is their style. They like to control the ball. Once they get forward to centre, they go quickly to an even numbered forward line, but they don't want to give the ball back. They want to chip it around, possess it.
Oh, it's a dangerous kick. It was well knocked down in the end by Steele. Away from Jetta. Geary goes in short. Here's Weller. He's back in the Saints lineup for this match. The kick over the head of Billings. Yo dropping the mark. Feed the handball out inside 50. That's an awkward collision from McGovern. No whistle on the play, though. Gresham could have been given a free kick. We'll get another look at it.
Yeah, a bit of a clumsy approach, wasn't it, from McGovern, and the right arm initially a little high. A bit stiff, Jade Gresham.
Could have well been in the back.
Yep.
6 goals last week for Jade Gresham. Goal kicker when the Saints have desperately been searching for one. It's a good releasing kick here from Gaff to allow Jetta just to cruise into a bit of space. Off half back, he sends it up towards Kennedy, who marks strongly.
Gee, that's a great kick. Austin had made fantastic position. Great kick.
Nelson just pokes it up towards Lysette, and the big ruckman's got it.
So we spoke about the jobs that these players are going to have to do. Marshall on Lysette, Logan Austin on Kennedy, and that leaves Jimmy Webster having to do the job on Jack Darling, who's in career best form. So certainly a little bit undermanned down back the Saints, and they're going to rely heavily on players further afield to make sure there's plenty of pressure on the way the ball's coming down.
As you mentioned, that suspension of Jake Carlisle really not helping the Saints' cause tonight. And Scott Lysette has been in career best form this season, working in partnership with Nick Natanui. He hooks that kick. It'll land in the pocket. Darling's down there. He's been marking everything this season. Not that time.
And Jimmy Webster probably a little disappointed he didn't have teammates coming over the top there. Nearly got exposed one-on-one with a long kick going in that really should have been a pack kill by the talls for St Kilda, particularly Hickey the ruckman.
Natanui looking it down. Lacroix was there. Geary right with him. Still a clearing kick. The bounce favoured Shepherd, who can set it back inside 50 for the Eagles towards Darling. But Natanui had front position, wrestling with Tom Hickey. And the two ruckmen having the first two shots of the game for the Eagles.
Well, it was a good kick coming in. It sort of was to the advantage of Natanui, and he just used his bulk and size to really get Hickey out the road. This is a challenging kick from the pocket, but well within his reach.
Nick Natanui, 3 goals so far this season. Oh, this will be a bright start for West Coast. And from the tight angle, Nick Nat gets the job done.
Not sure it was the cleanest kick off the boot. Little bit of a mongrel floater that just turned over beautifully and went right to left. But he's going to be an imposing presence every time he gets in the forward 50, as he's like. So they've got so many great targets to kick at. It was a really good kick from Shepherd. He just pulled the kick late in the direction of Natanui. And big Tom Hickey needs to be more physical than that. Got to be a lot more physical on this bloke.
I think you'll find, you mentioned it earlier on, Jason, they're down on some tools in their defence. So I think Natanui spent a bit more time forward. They'll try and stretch the Saints and drag Hickey away.
100th goal of the career for Nick Natanui. I see a free kick coming back in the middle of the ground to Elliot Yeo. So Ross a little confused as to what it was for. As West Coast go inside 50 again, Kennedy there. Natanui back into his space trying to take the mark. Here's Rice. Wobbling one out of defence, and it's chopped off again. Here's Redden. He's going to send it long again, looking for the tall timber. Kennedy over the top, came from about 3 deep and landed with Natanui. Lycett, strong hands, got it out to Sheed. The late inclusion tonight off the left. He's wobbling it, wafting it. It's through for a goal.
Well, when you turn the ball over coming out of your defence and you're able to get it back in, that's really what the game's about. Repeat entries, and West Coast did it so well on that occasion. The kick coming out from Bailey Rice was intercepted by Redden. He just pumped it back in. The big contest there from Kennedy, and Natanui's had a lot to do with the early part of this game. And then, quite simply, it was an easy snap for Sheed in the end. Had a lot of time to sum it up, snap, and it's a great start for West Coast.
Dom Sheed could probably consider himself a little bit unlucky to have been dropped this week. Has been in good form this season. He kicks a goal there. Came back in at the expense of Luke Shuey. Didn't quite get up for the match. And now the Saints will get a clearance out of the middle. Ross up to the 50, but again intercepted. This time it's Hearn.
It's a poor kick under no pressure from Seb Ross. He's got to do better with that. They've got to make the most of their opportunities there. They're poor at the best of times converting when inside 50. They can't afford to waste those entries.
This is the part of the West Coast game which has been impressive this year. They use the whole ground, the width, spread the defence, and then they just find their way down territory and inside 50s, which has been at an all-time high.
Yeah, and they do most of it by foot, Dicko, don't they? They've just proven themselves to be very effective at kicking.
It's going to be a 50 here as well.
Was that a 7-metre pass?
Yeah, it didn't look 15, but...
And I reckon he's a bit stiff.
Maloney didn't think it was the required distance, but he's given away the 50.
The old adage of playing to the whistle.
Yep.
Ball goes long into the pocket again. Kennedy the target. Darling waiting for it. Archie in support. Geary. Boundary line was looming, but Savage just gained some territory up to half back. Just close to the line. It just stays in. We'll get a boundary throw in.
Well, it's in some ways disturbing signs for St Kilda so far. They've been under pressure every time they've come out of their back half, and their entries have just been cut off by the likes of Hearn and McGovern. They just really need to get some composure in their decision-making, in their ball use, and get some forward thrust going their way.
Another thing they need to do is find the footy. It's 26 possessions to 11 at the moment. They're just not getting their hands on it. And one of their prime movers in Jack Stephen, who's off having a spell at the moment, he's being heavily shadowed by Mark Hutchings, so it's going to be a tough night for him. Just the one possession early.
Hold, West
Free kick will go the Eagles' way.
We heard Adam Simpson talking pre-game about all the tools that they've got, and the first thing you notice is every time they go forward, the size of the Eagles players is creating problems for the St Kilda defence. They're holding it in.
In again, Kennedy was up. Slapped on by Archie. Yo fumbled, but recovered. Got it away to Cripps, who just poked it in the direction of Kennedy, who used the body and the strength to push off and take the mark.
Josh Kennedy started the game on fire. He hasn't really touched it that much, but he's really jumping and leaping at the ball, which I wouldn't say is his normal strength. He's so good on the lead and so agile with his leads, but really looks sharp and on tonight.
15 seconds.
3 goals straight last week for Josh Kennedy. Hang on to that mark after pushing away from Gresham. West Coast have started well, and Josh Kennedy adds another one.
Off to a flyer, which just makes life even tougher for the St Kilda Footy Club, and there's going to be problems for them if the ball continues to come in with such regularity, and the Tools are just getting their hands to it first. They're mopping up at ground level as well, and poor old Jade Gresham found himself one out against Josh Kennedy and did his best to try and find a way to halve that contest, but he was never going to be able to.
Just really smart play by Kennedy. Once the contest was won, he could see the ball could end up with West Coast. He got into a dangerous position, repositioned, and gets the shot at goal.
So some real cause for concern for St Kilda. West Coast dominating the early stages of this one. She gathers. Good tackling pressure that time from Savage. Stephen ran into trouble but got out of it. Weller, he'll bust his way through the middle. Kicks wide to half forward, looking for Loney. Hopes the ball will sit up for him. He'll turn and he'll look inside 50. Up now towards McCartan. Barris closing late. McCartan went again. Weller continued to run. Won it. Stephen tried to hack it out of the air. Still going the Saints. Fed it back. Clark couldn't find a way through. It was just a wall of West Coast jumpers as he tried to slip it through, and that one fisted away.
I reckon
stay inside 50 for the Saints.
I reckon Matt Weller's cost Paddy McCartan the mark there and a shot for goal, because he would have been paid the mark taking it at the second attempt, because he was the man in front of that pack as it was attempted to spoil, and Matt Weller just trying to crumb it, ripped it out of his hands.
Hickey down to Clark. Slipped over. Sinclair. Bit of the handball across to Billings, who runs out of room.
As simple as this may sound, this is just an opportunity for St Kilda to build a bit of pressure, keep it in their forward half for some time, repeat entries, get a bit of space, maybe snag a goal. This is good, but better signs from the Saints.
Lycett and Hickey locking up. Archie able to gather off hands. Sends a high ball. Just away by Rice. Archie recovering. Rioli couldn't take it down low. Rice went again. Weller had it stripped away. The Saints have got some numbers, though, off the pack. Austin up to the 50. It's just out in front of Membrey. He's got time to gather it. Feed it backwards. Wright will just chip it over the top. Loney competing hard, but the boundary line again. West Coast defence standing up.
Alan Richardson down here coaching from the boundary line. It's a good move. You come over to Perth, very hard to win. You want the communication of your players being very quick. Haven't had the start they wanted, but interesting that it's been in their half for the last couple of minutes.
Coaching his 100th match tonight. Alan Richardson. Stephen. Ross. Back to Gresham. Looking to create something. He put it out into space. McCartan there against Barris. Barris, good body work. Just worked the forward away from it. And now West Coast up to half back to Rioli. He's certainly become a fan favourite quickly. That one just over the head of Lacroix. McKenzie. Go forward again. I'll send it long. It's out the back. Hutchings in there. Stephen. Strong tackle. West Coast pressure again. Good. Hearn. Away to Redden. Can build off half back again. Kick though poor. McKenzie. He's overshot the handball to Webster, and West Coast might be out the back here. They've got numbers forward to the football. Sheed for Redden. He's got a number of options inside 50, and he split the difference between 3 of them and only found Rice.
Well, they had 3 forwards on 2 defenders. That was the one place. He just didn't need to kick the footy.
Now a quick movement by the Saints back up the ground. Sinclair finds Billings. And McCartan on the long lead, getting up the ground, and that'll be 50.
Oh,
So
right.
big call here.
And a great opportunity for Paddy McCartan to take his time. We saw him miss an easy one early in last week's game. He needs to kick this as a settler for the Saints. Get themselves on the board after that early onslaught.
Here it is, the 50. Willie Rioli just running straight past, and
he just had the head down. His opponent was on the other side of the mark, and he had to follow him on the same side.
Paddy McCartan, 6 goals, 9 for the season. Saints generally across the board have had trouble converting the last couple of years. The Saints desperately need one, and McCartan steers it through nicely. St Kilda get there first.
Well done to the Saints and McCartan. There was a much-needed goal, of course. West Coast starting so well. Wasn't the prettiest drop and kick of the ball, but it was effective enough, and he was probably unlucky in many ways that Weller early didn't have the opportunity. See Adam Simpson's reaction there in the box.
Well, coaches don't like seeing goals gifted, do they? That was a very average kick off the boot, but it got there.
But the best build-up to that play was they had it in their half for 3 or 4 minutes, and then quick transition. West Coast didn't make their opportunities, and then they used the open side. You've got to do that. When West Coast use the width of the ground, there's always the open side.
Kennedy against Marshall in the middle. Hutchings got it forward. It was touched off the boot. Haven't quite realised yet, Rice. Able to just get the kick away. I'm not sure that was
another
15.
8 metre. Yeah, that one perhaps. There's a few of them.
It was in the traffic, so it was paid, and then a free kick infringing. Is Natanui on McKenzie.
Yeah, he started well, McKenzie. 5th disposal.
Webster speared it up the line. Not sure Weller was the intended target. But Nunes gets it in the end, sends it in towards Billings. But tough. They're trying to mark against the tall defence of West Coast.
The idea was right, I think. Billings was going over the top, but Barras just read it so well. You think he could have penetrated a bit more, perhaps.
Brad Shepherd towards Darling. They had to spoil from behind. He's able to knock it down. Good tackle by Membrey. And Lacroix. He's got Clark high. We'll get a stoppage and a ball up.
Yeah, the one thing they've got to force when they do go forward, St Kilda, is at least a 50-50 contest from the forwards. And I know he was trying to get it over the top of Barras, but he didn't get it over the top, and it was an intercept mark that they didn't even contest.
Real scrap for the football. Marshall just able to get his boot to it. Gain a few extra metres. Taken by Cole. Across to Hearn. The Eagles skipper pumps it back up the 50. And Kennedy really nudged.
Push out.
Austin underneath it. Not spotted. Picked up by Archie. Now he's got runners heading back towards goal. Cripps has got a couple to beat. Ross gets back to help out. And he controls it well. Does the Saints star. And he'll send it in short to Loney.
Got away with one of the best shoves you've seen, Josh Kennedy.
Here's Phillips.
Oh, Shannon Hearn's positioned himself. They do need a switch. Shannon Hearn positioned himself right down the field. So good play by the Saints. Switching the ball. Phillips on that occasion.
They've got a loose here now. They've done that well. Yeah.
So get out to Austin at half back, and then his kick, and he lets him down.
See what he's trying to do?
Cole.
Yeah, needed that 55-metre kick, and he just couldn't get the penetration on it.
West Coast back the other way. It's Archie. Look up, try and find a target. Kennedy wrestling again. He had the size there on Savage. Did pretty well to bring the ball to ground. Now Ross will go in short to Marshall.
I think Shane Savage did an excellent job holding his position there, and he had the advantage position-wise, but he had to show good strength to hold him off.
Geary unsure where to go, then missed the target with a handball. Webster under pressure. Waterman after him. Well done by Stephen. Geary, Webster, Stephen busting through the tackle of Duggan. Just creatively chipping it up the boundary line. Billings tackle lingering there. Loney will set a high ball up towards Membrey. Took a good mark on the wing. With Natanui going back the other way, there's Billings. Long to a 2-on-2. Hearn in front. Whistle. And a free kick to the Eagles.
The kick from coming in, Jay Gresham had made a lead sort of towards the corridor. It needed to come to the leg of his teammate on that occasion. Shannon Hearn just mopped it up.
Good defence. Good defence here from St Kilda.
Yeah.
They haven't had a fast play yet, West Coast, so they're locating really quickly, trying to stop that transition, which has been a force this year.
What they have done too is they've evened up possession.
Yep.
So they're starting to get their hands on the footy more.
West Coast burst out of the blocks. And that'll be paid.
Oh, no, that's man in front. Man in front.
You thought Marshall had more of it.
I thought Marshall had front position and had the ball at the beginning of the mark anyway.
Paid to Natanui.
Because he marked it.
And now a 50 as well.
Well, see, Seb Ross is having a go at him, saying he's paid the mark the wrong way. And too much abuse has cost him 50 and a shot for goal, and you just can't do that.
No, it's disappointing, isn't it? Fair enough to ask the question once of the umpire just to make sure that it's the right way, but here's the mark, bottom right-hand screen. The jump ball, perhaps.
There.
That's a mark to Rowan Marshall.
I agree, Diggo. I thought man in front.
And the 50 can really prove costly. There's Nick Natanui, who's already got one goal on the board, taken well within range. He puts it through and makes them pay.
So that's something that Alan Richardson will find incredibly frustrating. They'd worked their way back into the game after conceding the first 3 goals. They got one of their own. They're starting to win possession, evening up the inside 50s. Everything's starting to even up numbers-wise, but then you go and give an undisciplined goal away. Tough decision against them, but too much chit-chat to the umpires cost them a 50-metre penalty and a goal.
There it is, Seb Ross. Just a little bit too much on that occasion.
Just an injury concern down here for St Kilda. Bailey Rice just getting some attention to a right hip, limped off the ground. As the doctors and physios assess him, I'll keep you updated.
Thanks, Dicko. Eagles by 18 points. Jetta after it. Hickey able to send it forward out towards Membrey. Took it pretty well after the bounce and did very well to get the handball to Sinclair, who will send it long up towards the square. McCartan got a couple to beat. Good spoil by Nelson. Able to slap it through for a rush behind. You can see Rice there getting the treatment on the sidelines.
Looks like a corky of some point, a hit pointer. They're always nasty, particularly on a bit of a chilly night here in Perth. But that third man in, that Nelson on that occasion, I think it was, came across and affected the spoil. That play from West Coast has been a feature all year. Brad Shepherd's also very good at it.
McGovern up the wing, and Austin helps himself to the spoil and knocks it over the line as Natanui heads for a breather. These two sides played twice last season. It's the Eagles by 19 points in Perth. The Saints led most of that afternoon, ran over late, and the Saints by 10 points at Etihad Stadium in round 20. St Kilda did play well against the Eagles a couple of times last season, as we see the free kick going the way of Jack Stevens.
Well, even numbers in front of the ball for St Kilda, 6 forwards at that stoppage, so opportunity to go in quick.
Swing it through the middle, White. Chip it forward again, and Gresham bobs up so good against the Tigers last week. He tried to squeeze the kick in. McCartan just crashed that pack. Certainly will have the Eagles defenders thinking twice next time. And now Kennedy's got it up through the middle of the ground. Archie looking to generate the run. Darling just put it on the boot. He was trying to get it through, and it did. It slipped its way through to Jamie Cripps, who paddles soccers and gets it there in the end.
It was a great goal in the end to Jamie Cripps, who works incredibly hard to get forward of the ball, but that's a great contest from 4 players, really. All 4 of them, Hearn,
thought Nelson did a great job because he saw the lead coming, and he left his man and got across to help the spoil.
But this was the result. Archie and Darling linked up, and then the tumble punt. Austin played it well. It just couldn't quite find and track the ball to stop it going forward. In the end, Cripps did a great job to paddle it to the goal square and finish it.
Jamie Cripps actually started his career at the Saints.
This won't help.
Paddy McCartan just down here, boys. He jogged off the ground and then collapsed just over the boundary line on all 4s again. So,
well, he was involved in that one, Diggo, where he had 3 players spoiling. So keep an eye on that, and let's hope there's no concussion or anything like that involved, as we see Hickey come off with the blood rule.
It was a terrific contest from all players. McCartan came charging out and crashed that pack, and we talked about Nelson reading the ball. Fantastic by all players.
They're just checking his right ribs at the moment, so probably winded, but big collision, as you mentioned.
So back in the middle after Hickey goes off with the blood rule. Marshall there against Lycett. Almost took possession of it. Gaff lost it. Now Stephen. His handball. Yo attacking it though. Split between a couple of Saints. Now Fuller running. He pulls the kick back with great vision towards Cripps. He couldn't mark either. Played by White. Phillips. Steele. Just got the kick away. So he's about to be tackled by Nelson. Cole trying to spoil. Weller over the top of it. A free kick will go the Saints' way.
Yeah, good reward there to Matt Weller because he kept his feet. That's what the rules ask you to do these days.
McGovern was down the line again, so St Kilda doing this well, controlling the ball, moving it around, trying to get it away from the West Coast defence.
Webster. Wide about to be run down, chased by Cripps. McGovern able to knock it down. Loney left it behind. Slick handball, Duggan. Got Cole on the move. Gaff. McGovern. Now wide for Hutchings.
Good long lead from Waterman.
Ignored initially, then spotted. Had to reward the effort.
Yeah, they're the ones you want to get rewarded when you've led, 50, 60 metres really hard up the ground.
Once again, they just filled really well. The Saints got the numbers back in support.
Darling couldn't mark between two, and he's gone down awkwardly. Jack Darling as well. He's clutching at that ankle straight away. Could be a real concern for West Coast with their informed forward. As this ball's locked in under the pack, and Darling is still down.
Holding that lower left leg, isn't he?
There it is again in replays. A really good jump and leap at the ball. It's the right one as he lands. That doesn't look...
No, something gives way.
Everyone in the stands just holding their breath. It was almost like he landed on Austin's foot as well. So
the AFLPA Player of the Month, Jack Darling. A lot of pain right now. That is a big story.
It's worse than a sprained ankle. That could well be, and I hope not, but that wouldn't surprise me if there's a broken leg involved.
Calling for the stretcher, perhaps, for Jack Darling. Play will continue just for the moment as it goes wide now for Sinclair. St Kilda got a numbers advantage just at the moment. Ross squeezed it in short, but chopped off by Hutchings.
Well, those pictures we're seeing bottom left of screen are actually encouraging now because he's holding the leg himself and moving it himself. That's really, really encouraging because the way it gave way on the way down, I was really concerned that he'd done something serious, but he may take no further part in the game, but it looks better than it could have.
So, no stretcher. He's going to be taken from the ground, Jack Darling, by the trainers.
I guess the major concern now that it's looking like it may not be a break. You'll see it again here. He lands on that right foot and maybe a little bit of Austin's foot, and therefore it's that syndesmosis reaction that can happen between the two bones when they split the lower part of the leg. So that's no doubt what they'll be looking at.
He's playing in such good form. He's having a career best year, Jack Darling, as he gets the applause as he's taken from the ground. What can the Saints manufacture while this is all going on? Billing sends it inside 50. Membrey just got there in time.
Really well read off the boot. Tim Membrey, as we see Darling hobbling across the line.
It doesn't look great, but that's so much better than what it could have been, perhaps. So much better. So let's hope we get a good report on Jack Darling. But Tim Membrey has gone from the best set shot in the competition to one of the worst very, very quickly.
Well, last time he was here at Optus Stadium against Fremantle just 3 weeks ago, 1 goal 5 that night.
It just gets into your head as a goal kicker, and he's got to find a way to get back to the way he was a couple of seasons ago.
Tim Membrey hoping for the goal. Looks good. That'll give him a lot of confidence. That'll give the Saints plenty of confidence.
Well, you can see what it means to him. That reaction there, no doubt the 1-5 from a few weeks ago here at Optus would have been on his mind. Quite obviously, it's been talked about plenty in the media. Firstly, let's look at the way he reads this ball off the boot. Wasn't the prettiest kick coming in again to the forward line, but you can see he's tracking back there. He's pointed that way and just reads it really quickly. Very good reaction from Membrey, and then a fantastic finish to give him some confidence. There's that reaction. No wonder he liked it after so much talk about his goal kicking. He started the game well.
He did kick 2 goals straight last week, Tim Membrey, but had a couple that went right off the side of the boot. There's Clark, tackled strongly by Natanui. It's certainly been a talking point this season. A legal one there. Sheed, Gaff, now to Redden. The Saints have been challenging West Coast. The Eagles go forward here. Kennedy, he attracted 3 of them, and waiting down to accept was Jamie Cripps, but It goes well off the side of the boot and out of bounds on the full.
Just an update quickly on Jack Darling. He's walking on the boundary. A little bit of discomfort, as no, but he was indicating that it went right. So the 3 ligaments on the outside of your ankle. So the doctors was just taking him down to the rooms and assess him now.
Thanks, Sticko.
That's such a good result. I mean, we've already seen a couple of broken legs this year, and you just worry every time a player crashes to the ground like that and you see a leg give way that it's going to be something serious.
Especially with the amount of pain he looked to be in initially. And here goes St Kilda. Good movement this time. And Sinclair goes in short. McGovern had peeled back. Nunes was able to lead up to take the mark.
Paddy McCartan had space and they didn't use him.
Here's a long kick, Jack Nunes.
That build-up from St Kilda was fantastic. That's the real run and draw that they've tried to implement in the game all year. Very smart use of the hands, drawing West Coast players, gives them a shot at goal.
So after the Eagles burst out of the blocks, the Saints have certainly responded. He just chips that one in up to the top of the square, and Natanui easily enough to read that and knock it over the line.
That kick pays off so rarely these days because they're never on the same wavelength as their teammates, and unless the teammate's leading just as you're about to kick the ball and he's one step ahead of everyone else, it's a pointless kick, particularly when Natanui had got back there to fill in the hole.
Well, that was almost a throw from Natanui, who spiked it away. Clark sends it long, and Barris will get back.
Normally that kick from outside, Jason, goes to the shortest defender and the biggest forward leads, puts the big knee in the back.
Yep.
That's normally the set play.
And that to Cripps. So 7 intercept marks to 1. Dominating that area.
It's always the risk coming in tonight, wasn't it? West Coast so good at reading the ball coming in. Hearn, McGovern, Shepherd been outstanding all year, and what it allows is them to set up this type of stuff, to control the ball, chip it around, get their game going.
Inside the last minute of this first term, Gaff cruising up the wing, and that kick will fall in short. Well chopped off by Austin. Former power player.
Gee, that's a strange handball to give.
Certainly put Phillips under some pressure.
Strange kick.
And that one just paid the 15, so they're living dangerously as the seconds tick down in this first term.
It was an 8-metre backwards kick.
There was 3 of them so far this quarter.
Fury long. Barris! Over the top almost with the one hand.
Gee, it was a good sit, wasn't it?
He was up there for a long time. Natanui, handball on the up, cruising past his Jetta, and he can launch them. But that one into the forward pocket. He had a couple of options on. Waterman's got his hands in the air.
Josh Kennedy was seething. Here's his leap.
Well, he seats on Barris.
Oh, that's a nice.
Going for a fly. He just couldn't hang on as he came back down to ground level. But the first quarter belonged to West Coast here at Optus Stadium. They led it by 17 points at quarter time.
They got themselves back in it. They need to start in the same vein here. And he wasn't in that much of a hurry to get off the ground because he's coaching from the boundary line. Well, makes a difference, doesn't it?
There have been some issues with the coaches getting back up the lifts here at Optus Stadium, so maybe a good decision from the St Kilda coach. But second quarter about to get underway from Optus Stadium. Brilliant night in the West. And a crooked bounce to start, but Natanui will hit it down. Ross sends a high ball out towards half forward. Bouncing one for Membrey, who couldn't take it on the half volley initially. Rockets it back through to Geary. The Saints building towards the 50. Jetta trying to chop it off. Yo, handball over the head. Super creative to get it to Sheed. And now Duggan controls it up the wing to Waterman, who takes it on the stretch.
Presents really well at the footy, Jake Waterman. Strong lead. Really explosive off the mark. Been an important find for them this year.
He's played every game this season, Jake Waterman, the son of former Eagle Chris. Played in a couple of premierships for West Coast in the 90s. Jetta, it's a dangerous kick. Showed a little bit too much of it to Webster, who knocked it away from the crowd, but they were able to recover. Here's Hearn.
Well, we've talked about it a bit, but St Kilda have been really strong in their defensive actions, not allowing West Coast to move the ball quickly from their back half, which has been a strength all year.
One kick from Hearn. Kennedy, the spoil. Almost could have taken the mark. At the second bite, Gaff got it back to Redden. Now Nelson just sent a high one up to the 50. Marshall after it, but standing tall, Austin. Nice grab.
That's a good change of direction.
Rice out there gets it to Ross.
Terrific work rate from Tim Membrey. He started essentially on the opposite side of the square, and he's walked all the way across here to the wing or the half-back position. Fantastic running.
Back for Rice, who was getting a bit of treatment in that first quarter.
Great thing about that too, Pav, is when you get rewarded with the ball, you're likely to continue doing it. Whereas when you're getting torched all the time, you think, why am I busting my butt here and I'm not getting the leather? And you drop off a little bit with your work rate.
Webster goes wide. It was just over the fingertips of Kennedy. And Hickey was able to take it. Now White around the wing. He ran his full measure. Sends it up to the 50. Sinclair got a good hand in there. McCartan after it. You can see Jack Darling just riding the bike down in the rooms as the ball goes up to the goal square. Over the head of the forwards and out of play.
And there he is again, Tim Membrey in screen. Jack Darling we saw just working the legs over as he gets himself right with that ankle, but been really impressed by Tim Membrey's work rate. Up and down the ground, it's his real strength.
Give you a lot of Eagles fans breathing a big sigh of relief seeing Jack Darling on the exercise bike.
Sheed out of defence. Rice the spoil down. Ross to Webster. They forced backwards initially, the Saints, but now Rice sends it to half forward. Shepherd, the fist down into his teammate Gaff, and then Geary missed with a handball.
I think the other thing about this game too, everyone needs luck in this game. Jack Darling's in career best form. The last thing you need is a serious injury. We want to see him out there playing because he's playing so well.
Looks like he's trying to get back out there, Jack Darling, really testing that ankle out.
Although you wouldn't expect them to take any risks as far as coming back tonight is concerned, but just great to see him even jogging like that, albeit with a little bit proppy.
Bye next week for the Eagles as well. Part of the reason why they didn't take any risks with Luke Shuey in tonight's match. Duggan. Back for Shepherd. Now wide for Barris. Both teams really just filling each other out to start this second quarter.
Well, both teams are defending well, particularly when the opposition are in their defensive half. They haven't been, or both teams aren't allowing quick movement out, fast play. Been really structured with their defence, meaning they have to kick the ball around and try to move it around where the defence are. Great mark there by Archie.
Takes a good mark to get things moving. That time Archie up towards Kennedy. He wants the run of Cripps. He was creeping up to the 50. Now Waterman is out the back and he'll mark it right next to the square.
And it doesn't matter what sort of defensive structure you got. The old-fashioned contested mark breaks it open, and it was Archie. An outstanding mark, and then able to get back, move the ball quickly, and players like Josh Kennedy and co, they react so well when a teammate wins the footy. They're often gone before their opponents realise it.
Jack Waterman, 11 goals for the season. Make that 12 from point-blank range. And the West Coast get the first of the second term.
I was watching Bailey Rice and Jake Waterman. It was a great contested mark by Archie. That broke it all open. They were able to move the ball quickly, but Rice had taken the front position as this ball came in. He'd actually taken the lead up space, but just left the gap too far to get back. It's all well and good to cover the front space or the dangerous space, but you have to be able to close behind to get that fist in that occasion. Too much ground to carry.
Really disappointing when we just watched the replay of that contested mark from Archie. He's outmarked Tom Hickey, which means Hickey has seriously misjudged the ball because he can take it a lot higher than that.
Back in the middle. Hickey judged it nicely that time to knock it down to Clark. Share it with Sinclair. Quick 1-2 with Ross as they look to move forward. Nice sidestep to get around Sheed, and then a driving kick long into the pocket, looking for Membrey. Good body work against McGovern to take the mark.
And the other important part of that was the kick was to his advantage. He'd led back to the pocket. He needed the ball over the top, and that allowed him to apply his trade, use a little bit of body, keep McGovern under the footy and take the mark.
Oh, it was great work. Not only the kick from Sinclair, but the ability to get out of trouble. He's a really handy young player.
Tim Membrey getting some words of encouragement from Paddy McCartan after he took that mark. He wanted to capitalise. Great from this position right through his career. Tim Membrey with 6 straight, now make that 7 straight. And an important goal for the Saints to respond.
Oh, it's a good centre square clearance from the Saints. West Coast is so good at that, but it came out of a centre square bounce. And here it is. Good use of hands. Sinclair, bit of dodge and weave. showing his skills, the inside step, and that's the lead. And it's the kick to advantage that Jason you spoke about. It allows Membrey to go to work, use his great body strength, get McGovern under the ball, and that's 2 straight tonight from Membrey.
He knew it straight off the boot, Tim Membrey. So 2 goals for him. He's feeling up for it tonight. In the middle, the Saints will get the clearance again as Ross hooks a kick out to half forward. Bouncing ball, Hutchings will get there first, and Shepherd will show some dash off half back. Long up towards Waterman. Austin in from the side. Didn't really knock it over the line. Cripps eventually sees it there.
Showing some promise, Logan. Austin, he's backed himself a few times, doing a decent job.
Elliot, yeah, he's been picked up by Hunter Clark, so great opportunity for a young guy in his first year to take on one of the informed midfielders of the competition. So great confidence from Richo to give him the job.
Yeah, with the 5 disposals, you can see him wrestling there with Clark. This ball's knocked away. Phillips to Steele. Up to the wing. It's over the head of McCartan. Barris. Now for Hearn. Eagle skipper. Launch one inside 50, and Lysons takes a big mark. He cut across in front of the leading forward. He clunked it in the hands. He doesn't want to have a shot. He'll just set it up instead to the top of the square. Kennedy had to wrestle about 3. Rice taking the ground strongly. McKenzie's dragged it back in underneath. And it's going to be a ball up.
I guess that's the threat, isn't it, when you've got Lysette taking a contested mark and Kennedy was one out. St Kilda did pretty well to nullify the situation, but that's the real threat they pose.
Lysette hit out that time. Clark, good hands. Out to Sinclair, who just kicks for space. Out at half-back. Bouncing ball for Nunes. Couldn't find it first time, but spun out of the Cole tackle. Good smother by Jeremy McGovern. Sees it over the line.
Such an important player, McGovern, and well smothered, but Membrey's probably had the better of him to date. Had the 7 disposals, kicked the 2 goals. Be interesting match-up as that one goes throughout the night.
Hutchings back for Hearn. He's looking for the barrel and got a good piece of it up towards Kennedy. Off hands, Lacroix was looking to swoop. Rioli sweating off this one. He'll rove and snap a goal, and he's certainly enjoying it, Willie Rioli.
Well, in a very short space of time, he's developing cult status here at the West Coast Eagles. He's outstanding, Willie Rioli. He knows how to kick a goal. He's clever. He moves well. He can mark the ball. He's got plenty of tricks. And Jimmy Webster found himself in a really tough position once that ball came forward. It needed to be a clean takeaway, or he needed to kick the ball off the ground. But as soon as he was collared and the ball spilled free, Rioli was in the van.
Shane Savage was standing right next to him. You see him in screen there, but Rioli just able to get goal side quickly, go to the ball. Savage went round the back, and it's a simple snap.
Great to see a Rioli kicking a goal in Indigenous round. As Stephen got it to Ross. Now Loney spears it in low. McGovern was able to stretch and get a hand to it. He recovered very well to get it to Shepherd. He's Cole. Back for Barris. It was touched off the boot, so Hearn won't be paid the mark. And we'll get a ball up just inside 50 for the Saints.
So they'll try and set up and make sure they get a little bit of territory time here. Just keep the ball in the forward half of the ground. If it comes out, repeat 50s.
Hutchings taken in the standing tackle by Stephen.
And ahead of the ball, there's actually quite a bit of space. The St Kilda forwards have really moved up. You've got Membrey and McCartan essentially playing 2-on-2 in the goal square.
Tackling pressure again by the Saints. Ball ricocheting around. Duggan is just going to clear it back up towards the wing, and it favoured Waterman, who was able to take the mark. Now West Coast looking to counter-attack quickly again. He just chips it over the top for Yo. Looked up. He wanted to go wider to the boundary, but it's great vision because Kennedy, leading straight up the middle, takes it just inside the 50.
Well, you talk about leading up the middle. The kick actually drew the lead. It was the space opened up beautifully. Kennedy had done a power of work to find himself in that scenario, but the kick from Elliot Yeo was an absolute beauty.
15 gone, Josh.
He's controlled it nicely off the left, right onto the chest of the Eagles spearhead. Josh Kennedy. A mixed bag from this position. That one's got the legs. It's a goal.
Well, there he goes over to Elliot Yeo and says thanks very much for that one, as any good key forward should do. Go and thank the person that gave him the ball, because this was a ripping kick in from Elliot Yeo. You see Kennedy, he's just tracking the ball there. He's working hard back to goal. No goal comes easy in the AFL, but you can see the space. He's got two on one there, but there it is. The step inside. Seb Ross sold the dummy, and what a great kick. Just a beautiful kick.
See Jaron Geary too. He was quick to look around and go, how did I end up being stuck on Josh Kennedy? As we see, eye supplied, no more risks being taken with Jack Darling. They'll take the weight of it, precautionary crutches.
Stephen, Savage, and now Loney. Mark just forward of the logo on the wing. As the Saints try to build something forward. That one set up Billings, because it's easy for Cole to come over the top and knock it away to the line. As Jack Darling takes his place on the bench.
This is where the Saints just got to lock it in their forward half. The West Coast has a couple of easy exits now and opportunities inside 50, so their opportunity set up. Territory battle, as we've mentioned.
Jamie Cripps there just checking on Jack Darling's welfare. He looked in okay spirits. As there's a big talk inside 50. Membrey hands to it. He almost was able to claim the mark. Barris now got a few problems. He's fumbling on the last line of defence. Cole got it to McGovern, who sells the dummy nicely and stepping out of trouble. Got it to Sheed. Kicks around the body, a high one. Up towards Lycett, will get a free kick. And advantage will be taken. West Coast go up to the one-on-one. Natanui was caught out of position, and Marshall able to take the mark. West Coast have seen it out to a 29-point lead at the moment, as Gresham out to half forward. Could spoil that time, Barris. Duggan, Cole, back for Duggan again. Stabs it short to Redden. Duggan really wasn't expecting it back. Almost a turnover, but the Eagles have the numbers. In fact, the tackle lingered.
That's a lucky free kick.
An advantage taken. All the players stopped except Gaff, who sends it out towards Nelson. Didn't have anything on short, so go back. It's back with Gaff. He's had a sensational record against St Kilda of late. 36, 36, 36 and 30.
Just the 8 to date.
In his last 4 against the Saints. A little bit quieter so far.
Yeah, so just not having a huge one at this stage, but we know he can find the pill.
Sheed. Kennedy arriving late, and he snatched it away. Phillips was waiting to accept. Kennedy helped himself. He'll send it across now to Lycett. He's got 3 to beat. McCartan getting back.
Oh, well,
that's a strong mark.
Yeah, great to see him getting back and putting himself in a good position, taking a contested mark. It's one of the areas they're getting flogged out at the moment. It's 9 contested marks to 3 in favour of West Coast. And they're not all up forward. Sometimes it's in a chain of play that actually creates the further opportunity in the next possession.
Savage short to Clark, who dropped it. Was able to get it across to White. And a couple of mistakes there by the Saints.
And that's been the issue for the Saints, hasn't it, Jace? They kicked 4 straight from their turnovers in the first quarter, West Coast. And other than that, you know, they've been really in this game. The contested mark, as you talked about, has been an issue, but it was always going to be the threat. But just need a little bit more polish with the ball use.
West Coast kicking at 79%. That is high. That is elite. St Kilda kicking at 68% efficiency.
Normally the best in the league, West Coast going at 67%, but almost 79. That's very efficient by West Coast so far in the match. And that's a good kick to open it up in the middle as well. Archie has presented up.
This is part of their game, which is really improved. They just kept the ball rolling. You saw that go across to the other side of the ground, then back again. Enormous foot skills, as we've mentioned.
The high one was towards Natanui. I think he had front position, though, to bring it to ground.
They've been quite cautious tonight because St Kilda have defended quite well. They have been cautious, which obviously means it's easier to possess the ball and kick it around that 75-80%. But what they do is when they get forward to centre, they go quickly. They get it in there to their forward line as quickly as they can.
Knocked down to Lacroix. He's looking to swoop on it. Gave the handball up to Clark. Finds its way through to Billings. Phillips quickly back up the ground, but only as far as Hearn. Couldn't mark against Membrey. Jetta. Now Duggan. Looking to set something up. He was back in behind Kennedy. Trying to go back and find it. Could spoil Austin. Lacroix desperate for it. He tried to get the kick away. Well, he was laying on the ground. Savage Rioli hunting after the football, then looking for a free kick, which he'll get. There's Rice looking in some discomfort again.
Yeah, he was in trouble earlier today holding that right ankle. That doesn't look good.
Yeah, that could be a stretcher scenario. He doesn't look like he's. Let's hope he can get up and there's nothing too major, but he looks in a bit of strife.
I got tangled up with Lacroix as he was trying to kick it while he was laying down, and then a bit of loose checking from the Saints allows Lycett to take the mark.
This doesn't look great. He's copped a kick to the leg. So just watch Lacroix here. He tries to kick it off the ground. Oh, that's not what you want to see. That's how many times have we seen that as well lead to a serious injury for players?
Hasn't been good for lower leg injuries in this match so far.
Oh, look, that's good. I mean, he is up and he's moving and he's putting a little bit of weight on that ankle, that right foot. Let's hope it's not a. We talked about Jack Darling hoping it's not a break. Let's absolutely hope the same for Rice on this occasion. He looks disconsolate, but hopefully nothing too major.
So Bailey Rice help from the ground. Scott Lycett has had plenty of time to think about this set shot, as Rice was right in the road initially. Lycett from the paint of 50. Nice off the boot, but just held its line and just carried over the line for a behind.
Oh, he's putting some weight through that, so that is good news that he hasn't broken something. But let's not hold our breath. Let's get the report from Dicko.
And they're not going to assess him down here. They're taking him straight down to the rooms. So I'll give you an update at half time on how Bailey Rice's ankle's pulled up.
Disappointing for Bailey Rice, playing just his third game. The Saints trying to find a way out of defence. Stephen ran almost into a lot of trouble. How to do? He's still hunting after him. Short to White. Webster. Nervous moment with the handball. Cripps good pressure. Stephen got the kick away. McKenzie under a lot of pressure. He wasn't paid the mark, but he was able to keep it moving St Kilda's way. West Coast eventually pinching it back. Went through the legs of Jetta. Duggan. Cole after it. McKenzie back in there again. Now Sinclair emerging with it. Miss Savage, but time to find it. Now sent it long inside 50. Membrey had to spoil. He knew Gresham was waiting down. He tried to knock it in that direction, who was then almost taken high. St Kilda building. They've got some numbers. Sinclair got the shepherd from Hickey. Gets closer to goal. Goes around the corner and crafts it back beautifully.
Oh, well played, St Kilda. Fantastic ball movement. A few ill handballs throughout the middle, but it made it work in the end. They transferred the ball to the other side, back in through the middle, then the long kick, and this is the contest from Membrey that really, a big punch from, and what about this for just beelining the ball from Gresham, caught a little one high. Sinclair can certainly play, showing all his skills tonight, dodging, weaving, and that's a good finish.
Hanging in there, the Saints.
Maybe that'll provide a bit of a spark. Margin back to 24 points. Great goal there to Sinclair. Out of the middle. Sheed wins it after Clark slipped over. Inside 50 go West Coast. Hacked out of there by White. It's a good effort as well. Got plenty of distance on it. And now Nunes around the wing. Not much to go to inside 50, so belts it as long as he can, and intercepting it is Shannon Hearn.
Well, that's the problem. They're undersized at both ends, and if Membrey can't get there to make the contest, Loney just not good enough to make any sort of contest against Hearn.
Lewis Jetta into space, but the kick goes wide and out of bounds on the field.
Well, and often with those small forwards, Pav, what they do is they don't even bother trying to compete. They just sit back and say, well, it's my job to crumb. But sometimes they've got to go and actually make that contest for their team.
Well, it's not only making the contest, but it's the ball carrier making it easier for their teammates up the ground and actually making the right decision on that occasion. Not the best kick coming in, not necessarily the right decision, but you're right. Just creating a contest, whether you're tall or small, will certainly help.
Thanks, Liam.
West Coast have held St Kilda up after the switch. It's with Ross, who's called to go. Send it up towards Membrey, but McGovern floats in front.
It's just a strange kick from Seb Ross. He had the little chip on, he ignored it, and then he waits till he's put under pressure.
Stranger kick by McGovern, who went into the corridor and turned it over to Steele. Sinclair sends it forward. Umpire just about got in the road. Mav Weller can make them pay, but he misses badly out to the right.
So you've got a 2-on-1. He could have straightened, kicked a drop punt. He could have run and drawn and hand passed over the top. Sets himself around the corner and strikes the ball in the belly and butchers what should have been a certain goal.
Thankfully, it wasn't a dribble.
But it's just as bad, perhaps. I mean, at this level, you don't get opportunities like that too often. And you can't, particularly when you're a bottom team, you're playing the top team, you can't afford to waste opportunities that are just certain goals gone begging.
And one that St Kilda desperately need as well. Having a bit of a surge at the moment. Might still have a chance here. Billings' kick. It was off the hands that time of Duggan. Loney looking dangerous. Got it back to Gresham, who's been a sharpshooter. Just not enough on the kick as Barris thumps it over the line.
Well, that has been better from the Saints this last few minutes. And what a goal does here is it fuels your belief. It fuels your belief to work hard, to get it in your forward half, to get it to players to finish the hard work. So just need some reward for effort because it's been outstanding the last few minutes.
Yeah, the repeat entries, big tick. We're in red time now, so the next 4 minutes is massive. They just need to hit the scoreboard. They do that, go in half time with a little bit of belief.
17 points at quarter time. Only 22 at the moment. With West Coast having the better of the early stages of this quarter. Fought there by Marshall, Hickey, Ross, Webster. Back for Ross, who had to stretch to get there. But he had some support that went through the hands of Austin. Now they're being forced back, but Stephen will straighten them up. And he gets it back to Ross. Had some support from Hickey. Now Sinclair. They're doing it the hard way, and eventually the turnover comes. Or does it? The tackle lingered, and a free kick going the way of St Kilda.
Yeah, fair enough as well that Elliot Yeo just lingered that tackle.
Sinclair's having a good game. And he gets it out to Webster. A high ball inside 50 again. Again tailor-made for Jeremy McGovern.
Well, Paddy McCartan lamenting to the umpire that he was held off the ball, but he's just got to make a better effort to get there and compete. That is the high ball in that has to result in some sort of contest. 6th mark already for Jeremy McGovern. Ball off hands. Gaff waiting to accept. Now West Coast with some numbers through the middle. Redden over the top for Hutchings. He's got runners to the left. Or Lacroix on inside 50, and it's a good kick to him. And Lacroix will go back and have the set shot. Alan Richardson not happy. Down on the boundary line. Well, they're opposite ends of the spectrum when you look at the quality of the inside 50. One's a high bomb that doesn't get a contest, intercept mark, flip it over. And then you've got players running into space, players streaming downfield under no pressure to deliver, just hitting their targets at ease.
And Mark Lacroix having a good season. The veteran. Usually reliable. Good from this spot through his career. For his 20th goal of the season. No problem with that. And that really hurts the Saints as we close in on half-time.
Well, great work rate from Lacroix, but let's just look at the distance between his opponent and he to begin with. Just a little bit too much. We saw this earlier in the quarter. Just too much room for Austin to make up. It's great work rate and ball movement from West Coast. You see Slick, Scott Lysette, one of the handball, the big ruckman, but have a look at the work rate there from Lacroix. Austin just can't quite make it up. He's almost there. It only ends up being about a metre or so, but too far. Really good work rate from Mark Lacroix. Just starting their position, some of their defenders just a little bit too far forward.
So St Kilda threatening a number of times up the other end. West Coast sweep it up the ground and get the goal as Lysett invents the karate kick out of the middle to get the ball forward, but it's intercepted by Savage. Now Membrey on the lead, just over his head. He's trying to recover, and he had to hurdle over the top of McGovern, and then awkwardly tackles Ross. Allowed to go. Membrey involved again. Gaff getting busier. Redden. Duggan. He showed the footy. He was able to get it away, and a good kick to Archie. He's had strong hands tonight.
Really strong hands, Archie. Obviously over from Port Adelaide, just finding his feet in this West Coast team, but really strong hands.
Yeah, injury to start the year, just his 4th game of the season. Brendan Archie's. This ball spills out the back. Kennedy trying to recover from the pocket. He'll just wobble it towards the top of the square. Awkward run for Webster. He dropped the mark. Now they're under pressure. Sinclair collared as well. And holding the ball, the decision.
Wow.
Jamie Cripps will get the shot on goal. It looks, at first glance, I thought to be a legal handball. We'll have a look again.
Not sure there's a lot of prior opportunity there.
I'd say very little.
The ball spilling out in the tackle.
It was a good tackle, though.
Fantastic.
He works hard defensively, Cripps.
Jamie Cripps will be rewarded for that hard work. After the free kick, he converts, and West Coast have opened up a 34-point lead.
That's the type of pressure West Coast or any forward line would love to see. There's the first part from Rioli. Here's the second one. He's picked that up and been tackled straight away and has tried to handle that. I would say that's pretty unlucky and a bit quick from the umpire on that occasion, but gee, he's an underrated player. Cripps probably didn't have the year he would have liked last year, but he's back in some form, and 2 goals tonight. Really important for this West Coast team.
So inside the last minute of this first half. Eagles up by 34. Looking to make it 10 in a row. If they can win tonight. Hickey. It's a free kick in the middle. Lycett. Now Jetta pushing up off half-back. Kick just off the side of the boot. Kennedy sandwiched again. Had to knock it away. Archie was clean. Couldn't find Gaff. Here's Sinclair. He chips it up. Looking for Weller, who judged that very well.
Thank you.
Can the Saints get a late one? Call to go. Needed some support. Webster will go back in short to Savage. Still time for the Saints if they get it moving forward. And Savage is going to blast it long inside 50, looking for McCartan, who knocked it down. Nunes just put it on the boot. The bounce will be important. The bounce is very good, and the Saints do get that late one right on the siren of half-time. That'll give them a lift as they head to the sheds. 28-point lead it is at half-time. Bit of luck going the Saints' way right there at the major break. They fought hard, St Kilda, in that second quarter, so a bit of reward for their effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Great contest from McCartan. They had the opportunity to go in a little bit quicker, St Kilda, on that occasion to an open forward line, but they built the ball. Great contest from McCartan and very good finish from Nunes. It's what they needed heading into half-time.
Well, it's the same contest we spoke about a couple of minutes earlier that he didn't get there and make. That time he made sure he got there. He killed the ball. He had Crummers front and square. Well done.
West Coast in control of things at the major break. Let's get downstairs to Ben Dixon with Andrew Gaff.
Thanks very much, Paps. Andrew, interesting half. You guys have converted unbelievably, but the pressure's been right on from the Saints.
Yeah, definitely. They've been good. We knew they'd come out firing us the last couple of weeks, and they're pretty quick when they get the ball, so we've struggled to stop that a bit, but to kick 10-1's good, and hopefully pick it up in the second half.
We're in the middle of the ground. They're +6 in clearances. How have you seen that as a player through there?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like we're doing too much well in the centre bounce. I feel like they're clearing every one of those, so we're going to readjust and fix it up for the second half.
What about the kicking game? They've restricted your speed a little bit, but there's always a way around that with West Coast style.
Yeah, definitely. We sort of have numerous ways to play, and it was different last week against Hawthorn and a little bit different today, so we've got to fix a few things.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks, mate.
Andrew Gaff there with Ben Dixon. West Coast be feeling pretty comfortable at half-time. We'll be back with all the analysis of the first 2 quarters with Matthew Pavlich and Jason Dunstall. It's the Eagles by 28 points. Well, welcome back to Optus Stadium. A beautiful night it is in Perth for football, and it's the West Coast Eagles with a 28-point lead at the half, with both the Eagles and the Saints just about to get underway in this second half. Matthew Pavlich, what are you expecting from the Saints to start this second half? We see against the Tigers last week, they really jumped out of the blocks.
Yeah, that's right. They were outstanding last week in the third quarter against what is one of the best teams in the competition in the Tigers. Realistically, this game has been pretty even in terms of the stats, so they should feel really happy with themselves, the Saints. They've just scored a bit too easily, West Coast, going forward. They've been really efficient with their ball use. So, yes, there's a reasonable deficit, but if they can start this third quarter like they did last week, Jace, they're right in this game.
We often talk about the difference in polish, and that's a combination of execution of the skills but also the decision making, and that's been the major difference tonight in going forward. The Eagles will nearly always kick to the advantage of their forwards. They create space and they have dominant tall forwards that can mark the footy. The Saints, on the other hand, have bombed the ball in. They haven't always kicked it to the advantage of their forwards, and sometimes it's rebounded out too quickly. So that's the difference in polish that we're talking about.
Not too far away from a restart. Paddy McCartan has competed well for the Saints at both ends of the ground tonight.
That has been an absolute positive for the Saints. Hasn't had a huge amount of the ball, but geez, he's competed fiercely in the air.
So round 11 from Optus Stadium, West Coast and St Kilda. And we're underway in the second half. Natanui leapt underneath the football. Hickey's kick smothered. Stephen just slapped it forward. Gained a good 20 metres, but Shepherd able to intercept Gaff, McGovern. And back to Andrew Gaff, who we said started slowly, but he certainly built in that second quarter. Starting to rack up some numbers now. Long ball up the wing. Off hands, Archie wrapped up. Good tackle by White, and he'll win a free kick.
Been impressed by White, not only with that tackle, but the way he used the ball at times through that first half. 7 kicks, going really well by foot, uses it well. So good signs there for a Saints young player.
And good news for Bailey Rice down here. Limped off with that ankle injury where Lacroix kicked him. He's looked set to come back on the field.
Aggressive switch there from White. Ross was up to the task. Thankfully for the Saints, they're able to hold on to possession.
It was a risk, but geez, it opens it up to double switch and come out this side.
Now they got the overlap. They've got to use it.
Yep.
Austin then goes back to White, and he's pretty much exactly in the position where he was when this change started with the free kick a few moments ago.
Oh, Jason, you just talked about it. They did have the opportunity to go quickly once the double switch was made. They just held the ball up, being pretty cautious. Oh.
Another aggressive kick. This one overcooked. A big spoil coming in the end from Lacroix, but St Kilda will still end up with it. A wobbly ball forward from Weller. Didn't make it easy. Hearn tried to tunnel ball it out the back. Billings kept it moving forward. Gresham just escapes the clutches of Natanui. Feeds it forward to Membrey. And there's the start to the second half the Saints were hoping for.
Well, they got there in the end. I thought the Weller kick inside 50 was only an average one, but eventually some good work led to Membrey getting his third. It was that spoil that didn't go forward. Once the ball was allowed to get over the back, they had the numbers of Saints, but they just couldn't hit targets. However, there was some really good competing there. It might have been, I'm not sure that's Gresham there that got it. I'm not sure who the first one was.
Billings.
But Billings, in fact, doing the good work at ground level just to keep the ball in the attacking 50. And then Membrey gets down the end of a beauty.
Great start to this second half by the Saints. Controlled ball movement, a little bit of risk through the middle, but it paid off.
A lot of risk through the middle, but they did get it done in the end. The Saints out of the middle. Hickey fighting hard for it. Important 10 minutes to start this second half. St Kilda look up for the fight. Stephen sends a high one up towards McCartan. Barris closing late to knock it down. Billings was there, Membrey too. But West Coast defence, Cole and Hearn combine. And he tumbles one up the wing. Kennedy tried to knock it down for Rioli.
Oh, great tackle.
Is claimed by Austin.
Brilliant. He was 1 against 2, Logan
Yep.
Austin. That's a goal to West Coast if he doesn't wrap up Jeddah. And you can see Kennedy just trying to shepherd, let Jeddah get the loose ball and take off. Brilliant work.
His teammates got across to say thanks to Austin there as well for just holding up that West Coast 4A forward. Nunes didn't have the support he was hoping for. Yo, Hutchings. Now Gaff squeezed the kick up towards Cripps, who got a tough bounce, and it's out of play. We mentioned St Kilda really burst out of the blocks against the Tigers in the third quarter last week. They have been in a lot of games this season, the Saints, but it's been the fourth quarters that they've struggled in. Look right here. It was an awkward challenge from Natanui on Steele. Stephen kept it alive. Yo with strength. Got it moving forward. Rioli tried to trap it. Still after it, Willie Rioli. Now Redden. And tackled over the line.
Big tackle from Jack Stephen. He's very good at that area of the ground. Interested to see as we head to this stoppage. Mark Hutchins has been going to Stephen all night. Jack Stephen up to 19 disposals. But Hutchins has actually had a pretty good night himself. So really interested to see how this battle continues in the second half.
Jack Steele with the tackle. There's 9 players named Jack out there tonight. So easy to get them confused.
Well done, McCartan. Used his bulk, just pushed the smaller player out of the way, and now they can go.
Here's Nunes. from the logo. Saints want to move it quickly. It's up to Membrey, who's presented well. Not much inside 50 initially. They're sweeping back towards goal. He's holding it up. Still waiting for an option.
Just didn't see anything he liked. Nothing clear enough.
Now he's just going to go long to the top of the square. And there's a poor kick. Archie over the top has been marking well tonight.
That's not a great kick from Membrey. He just didn't get it into a position where one of his forwards could compete.
Terrific work rate too, Paddy McCartan, to get to that contest after he marked it on halfback.
Thank you. So Hearn in the back pocket. Eagles by 22. Early stages of this third quarter. Sends it up to halfback. And Jack Steele over to stand tall. Saints have started well. Up to Phillips now.
They have started well. They just need a little bit of polish with this last kick going inside forward 50.
Phillips sends it long to a congested area. Hickey's the tall target. Calder spoil it. Ricocheted back to Natanui. Now Sheed. Yo, the underground handball, creative to Lysett, who just about threw it back to Sheed. Not spotted. Bounce important. Well, Webster knocked it away from the Cra. Good one-on-one battle there to win. Marshall, Austin had to blaze away only as far as Lysett.
They've still stopped like they did in the first half, the quick play. So some dump kicks from West Coast coming out of defence.
Redden long again. Excellently done by White just to get back into the path of Archie.
Yeah, it was Brandon White. Went back with the flight of the ball, put himself at risk. Good effort.
We've talked about the efficiency in the forward half. Eagles' real strength. They're going at over 50%, which is pretty extraordinary pace. On the other hand, St Kilda only going about 30%. So that's the real difference in the game right now. Both competing really strongly though.
Phillips tackled by a couple and deliberate the call in the end. It was probably either holding the ball or deliberate.
It had to be, Pat. He's caught between a rock and a hard place. He's going to get pinged for holding the ball. There's only one place he can handball there when he's being dragged that way, and that's over the boundary line.
Waterman takes the free kick and sends it long. The Saints spoil each other in Rioli waiting to accept. Handball to the feet of the Cra. Slapped it out looking for Cripps, who lays a strong tackle.
Love the quality of their forward 50 tackles, West Coast. And we've seen them get reward. Cripps at the other end in the second quarter kicked a goal after a great tackle. They just don't give away free kicks. They don't allow the easy exit.
Lice it down. Straight to Yo, who's taken in the standing tackle.
Well, for all their good work, the Saints just need to hold tight now.
Dangerous ball here. Cripps got it up to Lacroix. Spills out to Redden. Sheed looking for support. Back to Shepherd. Now Waterman quickly on the boot. Long. And Lacroix is going to take it at the second bite. Well, he looked out of that contest originally. He was just able to get a fingertip to it and clutch it again on the way down.
Again, it's another example of better judgment. Taller St.Kilda defender, I think it was Marshall. He just didn't take the ball at the highest point. Lacroix did. Popped in front of him, and you wouldn't expect Lacroix to mark a high ball like that when you've got a taller defender coming over the top.
Got the hands there just in the nick of time. Mark Lacroix. And again, very reliable throughout his career from this position on the ground. No mistake. He's got two.
Oh, well done by Mark Lacroix. He's been a star for the Eagles for such a long period of time. Having a good year, and that was, as Jason Dunstall called, really well read. Marshall looked like he had this one gobbled up, but Lacroix in from the side, and fantastic judgment. Kept his eye on the ball all the way and took a strong contest to mark, and well, we know how good he is in front of goal. Another goal to Mark Lacroix.
See just where Mark Lacroix sits.
Working his way up, isn't he?
West Coast Eagles.
Number 3.
Josh Kennedy's gone past Peter Sumich this season.
Can he get Summer?
I was just thinking the same. I'm not sure.
Ross out of the middle for the Saints. Out towards Membrey. Got a nudge from McGovern.
Yeah, good decision. A nudge just as he was about to jump. He's looked dangerous, Membrey. He's been their best forward.
Yeah, had a very good game.
Certainly found a bit of form tonight. Tim Membrey. Again, congested forward line for St Kilda. Long ball. Barris with a big spoil. And there's going to be a free kick to the Eagles.
I'm less critical of that kick in because it gave both Hickey and McCartan the chance to run and jump at the footy. But unfortunately, there was a free kick given away in the pack.
Lysa will go short to Barris.
You can see just one-on-ones all over the ground at the moment, so it'll be work rate, a little bit of leg speed here, and if they're going to exit with some serious foot skills.
Well, Ben Dixon, you've spoken about this a number of times tonight, how well St Kilda have done it. Stopped what is a great strength of West Coast to move the ball really swiftly from their D50 to their inside 50.
Long ball. Waterman had to go against 3. Billings got it away. Marshall involved as well. Well up. Marshall again. Strong tackling by Waterman. The Eagles pressure good. Another Saints player in a bit of discomfort. McKenzie getting back to his feet.
A couple of big tackles there from West Coast. It hasn't been a huge tackling game. No. That's only their 24th for the match, which is relatively low, but a couple of big tackles might get them going.
Sheed taken high by Steele. Sheed disposal number 14 releases Jetta straight up the middle to Cripps, who had Archie cruising past. Kennedy's one-on-one inside 50, and too easy for West Coast going forward that time.
You know, the kick didn't look that pretty off the boot. It was a little bit of a wobbler, but he had to kick it off the outstep, just finesse it with his right boot, Archie, straight to where Josh Kennedy wanted the footy. It's actually a really clever kick.
Josh Kennedy doesn't need to have a lot of the football to have a big impact on a game. No Jack Darling out there. That one is hooking away.
Another injury concern down here for the Saints. Jaron Geary's just gone down into the rooms with the doctor and physio, so looks to be the right knee that he's got heavily strapped, so I'll keep you updated if he's going to come back on as well.
That would be a big blow for the Saints, their skipper. In injury problem at the moment, and that looked like a shove from Jeremy McGovern. No free kick, he'll send it back inside 50, and Kennedy will get another opportunity.
I'll repeat, inside 50s, winning the ball back in your forward half and getting it back inside your forward 50 is really what the game is about. Jeremy McGovern on that occasion looked to shove his opponent out the way legally, the umpire thought, and getting it back in quick to a disorganised defence is the way you score.
Josh Kennedy has had a lot of shots from this position through his career, and he's got that one. 3 goals for Josh Kennedy.
Having a good night, the big spearhead for the West Coast Eagles. 3 goals to Kennedy. Started on fire, flowing for every ball. He went all the way down then to thank Jeremy McGovern for the kick. It was a beauty coming in. Here it is. Let's have a look at this lead. The push off and then just a nice bit of space to let it lead up into. Great kick from McGovern coming in.
Doesn't miss 2 in a row. We talk about the difference in the quality of inside 50s. It's a twofold thing. It's not just the kick, it's also how well the Eagles forwards present and create space and give the opportunity for the person with the footy to kick to an advantageous position.
Clark's kick, a high one out wide, and well judged by Nelson. Tough ball to mark. Running back with a flight like that. He sent it in short to Sheed. To half forward. Marshall was in front. Natanui taps it to his own advantage, and he's looking to give the handball inboard. He loops it over the top for Yo. Back to Natanui, who's still running. Now some support comes from Rioli, who slipped. He was still able to keep his balance, but the snap just across the face. He looked like he was going to go to ground then, Willie Rioli. But just so balanced and able to still get the shot away.
But the skills of Nick Natanui for a big man, running along the boundary, waiting a hand pass, following it up. Exquisite.
And Hearn almost able to intercept again. Hickey doing just enough to see it over the boundary line.
Shannon Hearn's had an outstanding year leading this side so well. He's been important for them as well, but here it is.
Tap over to himself, and then that's not an easy hand pass to give. It was actually in a pretty good spot. Follows it up, gets it back.
He's had a big impact, Natanui, on his return from injury this season. Savage got it up to Nunes. Slipped it back through to Ross. Now Clark about to be run down.
Oh, well done.
And he slipped the tackle of Redden. He kept his composure too. A great kick it was. Up to McCartan. The Saints on the burst. The kick back in behind the defence. It was just wide of Billings, who ran out of room.
And again, it's just that missed target. He got a great kick in the lead up McCartan, and he needed to deliver a similar quality ball to Billings.
And they got the separation they wanted. Membrey fell into the space. McCartan up the ground. Billings as well. Got some isolation, which they haven't had a lot of tonight.
He's pushed higher up the ground at times today, McCartan, Diggo, tonight.
He's looked better too, up the ground. A good contested mark.
Good hit out from Natanui down to Gaff. Kennedy had to wrestle against a couple and fight back in to win the football back. Austin, Marshall, now Phillips. Kennedy desperate after it with the smother but missed. McGovern will intercept.
It's almost like he's kicked to McGovern on the lead.
Cole will go short to Nelson. 36-point lead to West Coast. They've won their last 5 at their new home ground by an average of 38 points. It's been a pretty happy hunting ground ever since that round 1 loss to the Swans.
West Coast are stretching the field really well. Their forwards are playing deeper than they did last year. Their defence are really spreading and fanning out to the open side, and it allows their mids to fill in that space just like Lysette did on that occasion.
High ball to the 50. Yoa was able to knock it down. McKenzie, Phillips, now Nunes. Membrey will have to work hard. Out wide to half back. Nothing further afield, so he has to just turn backwards momentarily. Here's Nunes. Straighten up through the middle this time. It was a good kick, and Weller able to take it almost, but it was slapped out of his hands by Lysette. Now Sheed can send it long inside 50. Waterman trying to get back. The kick really wasn't to his advantage in the end, and St Kilda will recover.
Gee, Josh Kennedy's filthy. He was all on his own waiting for that ball.
Yeah, a little surprised that West Coast ended up with the football. It was great work by Lysette. And a good tackle there by Jetta to see the ball over the line.
He just finished his spray that he was giving.
He wasn't happy.
He's out of breath for the spray, not because he worked hard to get there.
So the Eagles by 36. Hickey and Natanui to go at it again in the ruck. Hickey down. Stephen, good tackle. Natanui, he'll be rewarded.
It's a great follow-up, isn't it? Around the stoppage, Nick Natanui, such a great athlete.
Back for Cole and wide for Sheed. Certainly has the midfielders looking over their shoulder when the ball hits the deck after the ruck, not Nick Natanui. Long ball to half forward. Lysette there. Steele. White able to just send it long, and certainly too big there was Hickey. Able to outmark Sheed. Clark will go up towards McCartan. Hearn with the lunging spoil late. Billings waiting down for it, hooking it back off that left boot. A bounce was going to be important, but it goes right across the face, in fact, into the behind post.
What's a better result for St Kilda? Hitting the behind post and going through it behind. They get a chance to set up. They've been pretty good from the clearances. They've actually won the clearances tonight. 26-21 they lead, so they can try and set up a score here.
Love a score from a stoppage on this boundary throw-in. It's knocked down Loney after it, and back out of play.
They're incredibly hard to score at inside 50 forward stoppages. So many numbers around the contest. Look for a couple of blocks. You can see in the bottom of your screen there, Steele and Stephen trying to scheme.
Natanui down to Sheed. Gaff only got a little bit on the kick. Cripps knocked it straight to the line, and
going to get pinged.
Didn't disguise it enough.
It's hard when you're running that way.
Yeah,
the options are limited, but we like seeing players make an effort to keep the ball in.
And Loney will just poke it into the pocket. Membrey was there. The space did open up. A great lunging spoil from her.
we've seen that kick a number of times tonight, and that was almost the perfect execution of it. Just lobbed to that sort of hot spot, the point post type of kick. The forward in that occasion, Membrey, just couldn't quite get there in time.
I think in the end he thought he was clear and was going to take a chest mark. He needed to take it out in the hands.
Spills out the back of both ruckmen. Duggan tackled strongly by Steele. Another stoppage. Steele just wanting to go on with it a little bit. A bit to say to Duggan. Umpire gets it moving. Off the hands of Hickey. In there, Loney trying to spin out of trouble. Taken high. Free kick St Kilda.
Thoroughly deserved. He was the one in there making the play. Really attacked the ball. Draws the high contact and gets an opportunity to kick the goal.
I was just about to say it'd be incredibly fortunate if they get an opportunity here, because they have worked so hard. It'd be reward for effort. They've kept it in there. They've locked it in. There's 25 players I counted to that stoppage inside their D50. So to get a shot at goal, a huge win.
Jack Loney. 3 games, 3 goals so far this season. So he's trying to keep that goal a game strike rate going, and he does just that.
Hasn't seen a lot of the ball, Jack Loney, just the 8 possessions, but importantly there, he was working hard around the stoppage. He was attacking the footy. He got involved right underneath, right in the middle of the traffic, spun out, and that's where the high hand from Gaff catches him. He draws it, kicks the goal. Well done. They just haven't given up. They haven't gone away there. You don't think they've got the class to threaten them, but they're just hanging in there, the Saints.
Margin back to 30
Good news
points.
for Saints fans. Kieran Geary's just back on the boundary line, running up and down. He has had the right knee strapped all game. It's the left calf heavily strapped now down on the boundary line.
And Dixon keeping an eye on things down there. So Willie Rioli will get a free kick.
It was going to be 50 there for a minute, and that would have been disastrous.
Time for the Saints to get back, but Shannon Hearns just crept up from defence, and he'll send it long. A lot of numbers down there. Kennedy attacking it late. Got just in front of Phillips. Ball still alive. Webster took them on. Great tackling by the big full forward, and he'll win the free kick.
That's line ball between that decision or a dangerous tackle.
Yeah, it is. It was a big sling tackle. We'll have a look at it again, no doubt.
And you can see all the St Kilda players remonstrating with the umpire.
The ball actually broke his fall.
Yep.
So that was why the umpire paid it in that way. But gee, the attack on the ball tonight from Josh Kennedy has been a real feature. He's attacked the ball with vigour in the air and on the ground.
It was a big tackle right on the edge. Josh Kennedy, and he just sneaks that one in. 4 goals for Josh Kennedy.
It's interesting because that very same tackling motion can land you a 1 or 2 week suspension, or it can gather you a free kick for not disposing of the footy and a shot for goal, purely and simply based on the result to the player. So he lands on the footy. If the footy wasn't there and he lands on his head, he's probably suspended, or he's probably in trouble, at least, Josh Kennedy. But because there is no injury to Jimmy Webster, it's a goal. I find that a difficult philosophical discussion. Are we trying to rub out the action of that slinging tackle? If so, you've got to ping them all, or are we just worried about the consequence?
Kieran Geary's done for the night, boys. His left calf now in ice, got the tracksuit top on. He's out.
Thanks, Dicko.
See, that went from good news to bad news real quick, didn't it?
Certainly bad news for the Saints skipper. The ball goes wide out to Rioli. He gets the applause. Now Waterman looking for an option, and just off the instep, out of bounds on the ball.
He won that one back again. There you go, shake of the head. Not sure what happened on that occasion.
Steele. Oh, Justin. Just to Austin. It was almost over his head. And West Coast would have had a certain goal. He's out of defence to Saints, but West Coast pressure again good. Sheed couldn't get the handball through to Cripps. Chopped off by Clark, who's been good in this quarter. Duggan just beelines the ball. Ran out of room and into a brick wall in Tom Hickey. Yo, almost chopped off by Sinclair. Gresham now after it. Still scrapping for the football.
Did he dive on it?
He did. A little unlucky there. He's working hard to try and win it, but Yo wrapped him up.
Right arm over the shoulder, might have been unlucky. Could have gone either way.
West Coast having the better of the free kick count so far as it goes long. Up to Lycett, who takes a good mark.
Having a very good year, Scott Lycett, been incredibly important. Obviously, he missed last year with injury.
Eagles dominating their contested marks as well. Kennedy tried to flick that one over the back, and he's going to get a free kick here. Josh Kennedy. He attracted a crowd, and he's been given the free kick.
Well, that's the fear of opposition teams when the ball approaches someone like Josh Kennedy. 3 blokes flew against him. It was 3-on-1. In actual fact, they probably would have kicked the goal anyway because West Coast had the players on the ground, particularly over the back. But have a look here. Just grabbing the left arm and pulling it down. Yeah, you've got to pay that. You've got to pay that as an umpire. Good decision.
Josh Kennedy. 3 goals last week. 4 goals, 1 so far tonight. Doesn't usually miss from here. He steers through another one. He's got a handful. 5 goals for Josh Kennedy.
Well, we've talked about it all night, how sharp he's looked, how well he's attacked the ball in the air. There's the free kick, the pull of the arm, attracted 3 St Kilda defenders. We know what a gun he has been and continues to be for the West Coast Eagles. 5 tonight. Really enjoying himself out there. Beautiful ball movement on a number of occasions has allowed him to kick some goals. There he is in the Common Medal race.
He's creeping up there. He had the delayed start to the season, Josh Kennedy.
A few of those boys would be worried seeing him in the rearview mirror, perhaps.
69 goals last year. He's kicked 60 plus in his last 5 seasons, Josh Kennedy. Been remarkably consistent.
Did you used to get that feeling when the likes of Ablett and Modger and I was going to say Dunstan and Lockett?
There was nothing worse than having a good day. You kicked 8, you walk off the ground, you find out Plugger's kicked 12, and you've gone further behind.
There you go, the Saints. Sinclair. Kenzie on the boot. Up to McCartan in the one-on-one. Hearn did well, just to interfere. Standing in front, and the Govan able to mop it up. Cole, Jetta, and now Gaff.
He works so hard, Andrew Gaff. Hasn't had huge numbers tonight by his standards, but he just runs the lanes and the lines so well. Creates so many opportunities. Here he is again.
He's pushed right up to the wing. Maybe just ran out a bit of puff as he dribbled that kick up towards Rioli.
He'll end up with his 30 again.
Yeah, and we know, with the data that you receive now, he runs 15, 16 kilometres a game. He's one of the hardest workers in the competition. He runs so well. But
how much territory did you cover?
Definitely not 15 or 16.
Plenty of talk about Andrew Gaff's contract as well. Free agent this season. There's a high ball up to half forward. White slapped it on, but wrong direction for St Kilda. Marshall under pressure. Kennedy again with aggressive tackling.
You asked me about how far I used to run. Not 15 or 16, probably about 13 or 14 on a good day. What about yourself?
I get 15k through the course of the season.
I was waiting for the punchliners. Rioli up to Kennedy, not the 15. Call to play on, so he wheels around and snaps it over his shoulder anyway. That's his 6th.
He's gone berserk in this 3rd term, and the floodgates look like they have officially opened. He's got half a dozen for the match, but he just looks like getting the ball every single time it comes towards him now.
Well, he's 1
against 2.
Yeah, he is. He just gets to the front.
And you know what? Looking at that, Pav, there's got to be better communication.
Yep.
They both played behind instead of one in front, one behind.
Yeah, that's right. It should have been Marshall on that occasion that played in front. Actually structured very well on that occasion. Just
they just didn't talk to each other.
That's right.
Nunes and
Marshall.
And Marshall, yes.
Kennedy certainly the focal point. No Jack Darling since the first quarter. He's cashing in now. 4 for the term for Kennedy. As Hutchings blasts it forward, but only as far as Austin.
Jeremy McGovern down on the boundary line talking to the doctors and physios at the moment, so a little bit of an injury concern down here as well.
The injuries have been the story, or one of the stories of the night. It's Cole. Steps inside Clark and then sends it long up into the 50. Kennedy's on the bench at the moment. Saints defenders win this time. Rice had a little stumble at the wrong moment. Marshall, Sinclair, and now he can escape through Nunes. Chip over the top for Stephen, who worked hard into space. Inside the last minute of this third term.
There's an option in the middle of the square.
Billings.
It's Billings if they can see him.
Still got players there, gone shorter instead to Phillips.
Oh boy.
Almost ran into a tackler.
They make life hard for themselves at times.
Oh, they're threatening to turn it over here, the Saints. Run by Marshall to get it back. With the handball through, Weller. A toe poke. Natanui timing on it, trapped it magnificently. Got it to Sheed, now to Yo. Quickly onto the boot. Cripps is after it in the forward pocket. Bounce doesn't favour him though. It's Jeremy McGovern getting the treatment.
Looks pretty relaxed. Using the football as a headrest just so he can keep an eye on what's going on out there.
Sent back in. No ruckman for the Saints, so Natanui helps himself. And there's Archie, almost able to take the mark. Cleared away by Marshall. Seconds ticking down. Hearn steps inside. Great smother. McCartan desperate after it, which is great to see at this stage of the game. And it hasn't been the Saints' quarter, but McCartan with a desperate act there late. The third quarter certainly belonged to the West Coast Eagles and belonged to Josh Kennedy, who kicked 4 goals in that term. The Eagles have broken it open. They lead it by 48 points at three-quarter time.
Boundary line then in the huddle, and he has taken the field here in the in the last quarter. So if he can get through this quarter, that's a big bonus for the West Coast Eagles.
Thank you, Dicko. Jace, what do you want to see in this final term?
Oh, look, we just want to see effort from St Kilda. I like the fact that they actually, particularly early in that third term, they took some risks with the way they were moving the footy. It didn't always come off, and often they just lack that ability to hit the target they need to hit. But I'd like to see them continue to take some risks.
So the Eagles by 48 as we start the final quarter. Round 11, West Coast and St Kilda. Hickey after it. Stephen got it to Clark. Gresham in there battling for it, and they work it out of the middle again, the Saints. They have been good in the clearances tonight, and that kick from Phillips though over the head of McCartan. Tough for the forward there who presented up.
Nothing Paddy can do about that.
It was a fantastic lead. He timed it perfectly, just not the kick he wanted.
Well, a big part for the Saints is to win this quarter. Their pressure's been terrific. They've stopped the fast ball movement at West Coast. There's been some turnovers that have cost them some goals, but to win the quarter here over in the West, it's a big margin, we know, but that'll be the goal in the last quarter.
They have struggled for conversion this season, the Saints. Getting inside 50, the 12th in the league coming into tonight for inside 50s, but go at just 18% in terms of kicking a goal when they go inside 50, which is the worst on record. So certainly an area they need to improve on. Long ball up the wing, and Yo just able to drift over the top and take the mark. Ball goes up to half forward. Lycett knocking it down. Marshall, Austin, Savage sending it quickly up to Membrey. He just got away from McGovern. He wants to feed the handball over the top. Good build up here from St Kilda, and Ross is going to send it long. Weller wrestling down there with Jetta, held up. He would have got a free kick. He could almost take the advantage. In fact, he'll go back and have the set shot. Mav Weller.
I would have just kicked it off the ground, right? Yes. And I reckon he would have got a free hit at that. Whether if it went through, it would have been paid. If not, brought back.
Here's the free kick. Not a huge amount in it, but probably there.
Maverick Weller to have the shot at goal. Missed last week after copping a head knock at training. He's able to recover and make the trip west. 6th game of the season, and he kicks his 2nd goal of the year.
Well done to Maverick Weller. Good build up there by the Saints. They're able to get the ball out to Membrey on the wing. Here's his free kick again. It may have been for that one at the beginning, not much in that second one, but good ball movement, and we've talked about it. Ben Dixon mentioned it. Really important for the Saints to win this quarter. They've been competitive all night, just haven't had the polish that they would have liked, so good signs to start this last quarter.
Back in the middle again. Natanui to go up against Hickey. Good bounce. Natanui straight down to Hutchings. Back for Natanui. Tackled strongly by Stephen. And we'll get another stoppage. West Coast Eagles wearing the black armbands tonight in recognition of Trevor Perriam, a long-time volunteer at the club who passed away late on Thursday. Did a lot for a long time at West Coast, helping out at training with equipment and the like. So thoughts with his family. As Lycett after the football.
It's so important, those types of players, people at a football club. They're the real fabric and really what binds people together. Sad loss for the West Coast Eagles.
Gaff quickly onto the boot, bouncing ball, trapped by Austin. Back for Bailey Rice. Had some injury concerns earlier on in the game, but it's been good to see him playing it out. That handball really set him up, but he was able to spin out of the tackle of Kennedy. He had to wait for it for a long time. And now spots Nunes. Austin. White.
Jay Gresham all by himself. Found a nice pocket of space.
And he wants to get it moving. Ross back to Gresham with the 1-2. Running into and then out of trouble. Now Stephen, good tackling pressure by Hutchings, and the turnover could prove really costly. West Coast running forward in a wave. They slip the handballs through, and Andrew Gaff can just steady and steer it through.
Well, I spoke about taking risks. That's what they're trying to do through the middle of the ground, and Gresham just got caught with that loopy hand pass over the top. That's the one that puts a teammate under pressure. If you can hit him, okay, but when it's got to go over the top like that and you float it, you're going to get your teammate run down. Jack Stephen, there's nothing he can do. Mark Hutchings is there to tackle him. And look at them swarming. They had 4 or 5 of them running together. It was just a matter of who was going to get that final hand pass, which resulted in the shot for goal.
It was always the threat that St Kilda posed, their ability to run and draw and use handball, but that type of pressure from Hutchings on that occasion, really important.
Andrew Gaff having a great season.
His best season, according to those rankings.
A few starting to talk about him as a Brownlow Smoky. Has gotten a lot of votes in the past, particularly against the Saints, for that matter.
And they're going to get plenty of votes if they're winning every game.
Yeah.
He's up to 23 disposals and now a goal tonight.
Just been ultra consistent all year, Andrew Gaff. Tonight he actually started quite slowly, but built his way into the game.
Hickey went as far as Jeddah. Cole. High one. Waterman has to go against a couple and a nice mark. Taken over the top by Rice.
Really nice jump, and it's great to see him out there after that injury in the second quarter to his ankle, but
good kick towards McCartan, but Hearn able to knock it away, and West Coast through the middle again. Tackle by Webster. Had to hold up Lacroix. And it'll be locked in.
Yeah, look, it's a dangerous place to turn the ball over, but that's where McCartan led. The kick was pretty good. It's just that Hearn had peeled off his man and was trying to block the space and was there to spoil.
Redden went through the legs of Hutchings. Jeddah. Now Hickey. Forward to Clark. Cole almost got him high. He did. And a free kick coming back to the Saints. Clark has battled hard. So we dispose of number 16.
Yeah, and he's just going to get better and better, isn't he? In his first year of AFL football, he's going to be a good player for the Saints.
Pick number 7 in last year's draft. As he sends it long up to McCartan. Lycett back there to help. Knocked it down. Sinclair. And then it's come off the boot of Nelson. And it's carried over the line on the full. No, Membrey will take it from the tight angle.
Not sure it was Membrey's kick.
no, but
It was not the closest when that happened.
Like a good forward, he got across there quickly. And Tim Membrey from the pocket, working that one back. He's done that very well. He's got his mojo back in front of the sticks as Tim Membrey. 4 goals.
Goal a quarter, can't ask for more than that in
been really good.
In a team that's struggling and getting well beaten. And you can see it's Sinclair that misses there, so that has to be Sinclair's kick, you would think.
Nonetheless, good finish by Membrey, and his work rate all night's been really strong. He's presented hard up at the ball, got a lot of his football across the wing and halfback, has set up a lot for the Saints, and to finish with 4, really good night.
9 goals, 3 for St Kilda. Has been good conversion when they have had shots. Hickey just took it clean out of the middle opposed to Lysett. Sends it long up to McCartan. Barris able to knock it down. Oh, Maloney caught one high. Might have been some friendly fire though from his teammate Gresham.
And Gresham's hurt himself as well. I think the two of them have hurt themselves.
Gresham's copped a knock to the knee. Yeah, Maloney to the head.
His knee that cleaned up the head of his teammate. Comes in and he just spins his way through.
A friendly fire. Maloney's still getting back to his feet.
Good contest in the air from Paddy McCartan, doing all he could do there. He was outnumbered. He made sure the ball wasn't marked by the opposition.
Jay Gresham still complaining about a sore knee. I'm pretty sure his team.
Put that away.
Well, what about my head?
McGovern into Duggan. Short for Redden. Thought about going sideways. We've got a little bit more direct now. He just missed Lacroix. Savage after it. The handball on the up was okay to Weller. Membrey back for Billings.
Super kick.
Oh, almost was, but Duggan just chopped in front. And there's going to be a free kick.
Gee, that was good anticipation from Duggan.
Switch it back to McGovern. And they've got the numbers out. West Coast on the wing. If they can move it. Yo. Under that left boot again. He's used it pretty well tonight. Finds Hutchings. Missed Yo. Going back the other way. McGovern almost wrapped up. Was just able to get clear. Yo again. Up to Cripps. Gaff. Just about in the back. Stephen after it now.
Dragged it in. Reached out and dragged it in. He's going to be in trouble. Needed to tap that one out to where his teammates were. But you can't criticise him. He's trying hard. Jack Stephen, 22 possessions. He's worked hard. It's just been a tough night.
He's had that tag from Hutchings, who's very good at that role all night. They're both, at the moment, exhausted off the ball.
Barris for Hearn.
Such a dangerous team, West Coast, but they have restricted some fast ball movement tonight, so there's some positives to come out for the Saints.
Waterman, that one falling short after it was touched. Sinclair tracked up some numbers this evening. Nunes, Steele, searching for a target for. There's an awkward spoil in the end from Cole, who went over the top of Gresham. Misses the kick to Natanui, and was then wrapped up White and takes him to the ground.
Again, it was Jack Steele streaming forward, picking the wrong option. It had to go long, not short, to a 50-50.
We've talked about it on a number of occasions, but West Coast have done so well at turning the ball over in their forward half and creating scoring opportunities. Yes, it's got a little bit to do with the decision-making and skill execution of the Saints, but 10-2 the Eagles have scored from Saints turnovers.
So ball on the wing. She trying to extract it.
And that's really where the game lies. Both have scored pretty well from stoppages. Centre square bounce is pretty much even. So the signs are there for the Saints. They just need to keep working on certain areas of their game.
Weller got the handball away. Nelson harassed by Phillips. Jetta forward to Natanui, and then the give on the up to Archie, who burst clear, ran his full distance. He's trying to keep it low and slide it through from long range, but it's across the face.
Willie Rioli's created many highlights. Look how quick this handball is. His teammate wasn't ready for it, hit him straight in the button.
Certainly creative, Willie Rioli. Archie working hard again. Gaff with his head over the football. Saints with the numbers. Phillips, Weller, Rice. Creative kick in the end, just stabbed it in short to Billings. Weller gets involved again. Ross has led the way in the disposal count for the Saints tonight. This is number 28, and it's a good one too, with Membrey running back with a flop. They got in behind the Eagles' defence.
Perfect kick. Yep. Perfect kick from Seb Ross on that occasion. Two defenders trying to get back. Membrey got goal side, had to clear the pack. He was able to do that. Good mark, catching it over the shoulder from Tim Membrey, and his confidence should be up. He's got 4 to his name. He's kicked the ball so much better tonight than he has for the majority of the season.
4 straight this evening for Tim Membrey after a couple of goals last week. This would be really good reward for a hard night at the office. He kicked 1 goal 5 last time he came to Optus Stadium. Tonight, he's got 5 straight.
Well done, Tim Membrey. Fantastic. And there's a little bit of defensive play here. The eggs have been pretty sound all night, but you see Barras and his teammate Duggan there, just a crossover. Normally the Eagles would hand over on that occasion. You can see Barras was just locked into McCartan, and it opened the door, opened the gate for Membrey to get out the back on Liam Duggan. Really good ball use from Seb Ross. The kick was fantastic, but just a slight error from West Coast defensively. They've been sound all night, but on that occasion the Saints too good. And 5 goals to Tim Membrey. Well done. Really good return to form.
The Saints have been crying out for a big key forward to stamp their authority this season. A good performance tonight from Membrey. As we said, free kick in the middle of the ground. Natanui to send it long up towards Kennedy. Yo was there as well. Rioli was looking to flash past. The Saints, Sinclair dropped it straight into the lap of Nelson, who got it on the boot, but only as far as Rice.
Pretty stagnant ahead.
He just pokes it out to half-back. Bit of body contact there between Billings and Shepherd. Shepherd's come off worse for wear. Sinclair ends up with a footy, and Membrey on the lead again. Very open forward line for St Kilda. There's nobody inside 50. Now Weller's running hard to get back in there as McCartan looks for an option. Just missed Natanui with the kick. Here's Sinclair again, who sends it wide. McKenzie can work the numbers. Savage is a long kick, and off a couple of steps he roosted it long. Membrey was down there, but Hickey was down there, but not able to take the mark. And we see Brad Shepherd and Billings collide.
Not sure there was a lot in that. Just didn't get the connection right between the McKenzie and Savage then. He didn't draw the player before he gave the hand pass, and it meant Savage was under pressure from the chase. Instead of running inside and kicking from 40, he's kicked across the body from 50.
Pavel, last year we've got Luke Shuey to come back into this team. Dom Sheed was under pressure last week with his position. Pressure on spots, as we know him. Do you see him as the likely casualty?
Well, he's had a pretty good night in terms of his numbers. He certainly racked up enough of disposals, second highest disposal winner for West Coast. Some of the decision making maybe not his absolute best, but he was probably stiff to go out of the side. So again, he'd probably be unlucky. I'm not sure who the casualty would be. Who do you think, Dicko?
Get back to that in a moment as Savage. He's looking for an option forward. Now called to play on Webster. Sends a high ball inside 50. Saints have got some numbers here, but Hearn chops it off. West Coast out of defence again. Here's Andrew Gaff. This will be disposal number 26.
I guess the potential, I mean, Nelson was the other one that came in. He normally plays a bit of a different role to Luke Shuey, or is this one's turned over?
Billings was able to knock it down. Opens an opportunity for Gresham, who goes on the outside of the boot and he dribbles it through. Creative stuff from Jade Gresham. And he'll enjoy getting on the score sheet tonight.
Great finish from Gresham on that occasion. A great turnover from the Saints. It's been really strong in this last quarter, their ability to turn the ball over. That's a clever finish on the outside of the boot. Membrey was thinking he might have an opportunity for 6, but it's very skillful from Gresham. We know what a wonderful player he is. Been a great quarter from the Saints. Trim the lead back to 30 points. There you can see the last 3 goals to St Kilda.
6 goals for Jade Gresham last week, as we mentioned at the start of the match. Part of the team that designed the Indigenous jumper for St Kilda, along with his mum Michelle. As this ball sent forward by Ross. McCartan And now Weller from the 50. He's got some numbers forward. Nunes just slips it back into Weller. Duggan missed with a tackle. Weller still going. Now McCartan tackled strongly. And the numbers arrive for West Coast. Big tackle, Nunes. And we'll get a ball up.
We know they handball a lot, but a lot of the handballs have run teammates into trouble tonight, the Saints.
Yep.
It's just been the wrong option. They've given it to someone that's about to be closed down.
Well, they're 1 for 1 tonight.
They're finishing strongly, the Saints. Are leading the inside 50 count in this final term and dominating the time in forward half as well.
They've had 5 more handballs than their kicks, so going at actually higher than that.
Marshall down, Sheed. Tackle almost slipping high from Billings. Ends up with Ross, who sent it wide. Wasn't to the advantage of McCartan. Barris. And they peel away from him, so he's got time to steady up with the kick to Cole.
Positions himself well there, Barris. He was on the fat side of the contest, so the kick going out to space, he was always going to be first there against McCartan.
Long ball. Saints with the numbers. Clark back for Rice, and they're on through the middle of the ground. Marshall. He bobs up. And just chip it to half forward. Sinclair back for McKenzie. From about 60, he's just going to send it long to the top of the square. McGovern almost reeled in the mark. Membrey was trying to jump over the top of the maul. And it's locked in.
And Jace, we talked about contrasting styles a fair bit leading into the game. West Coast 215 kicks, 119 handballs. So significant difference. St Kilda a lot more handballs.
Knocked down by Marshall. Cripps kick smothered. Sinclair knocked it back. Nunes quickly on the boot, and they get another one. Second goal for Jack Nunes.
Both teams incredibly accurate tonight. That's St Kilda's 12th goal. Only 4 points. West Coast have only kicked the 4 points as well. 16. Here it is, another stoppage goal from their forward half. Tim Membrey, great pressure, and that's a classy kick under a fair bit of heat.
They have struggled to finish games, the Saints, this season, but they're having a good final term. The margin was 48 points at three-quarter time. It's back to 24.
It's only 4 goals with 7 minutes left.
It's enough time.
Not out of the question.
Another one would make things very interesting. West Coast have just taken their foot off the pedal. Maybe open the door for the Saints. There's Sheed after it, diving in. And it'll be locked up again. Adam Simpson.
Yeah, and he's got a few concerns there, perhaps. I mean, the way the game's played itself out, we would consider it to be one of the most unlikely results we've ever seen. But with 7 minutes left on the clock, 4 goals is not a safe margin.
The scoring has dried up for West Coast in this final term. The Saints just getting a bit of confidence as White sends it out towards Membrey. And he's been in good form tonight for the Saints. He shares it with Loney, but his kick goes wide and out of bounds on the full. That doesn't help their cause.
How many times have they done that where they've had control of the footy and haven't been able to deliver a kick anywhere near where it needs to go?
Shannon Hearn gets things back underway. Off the hands of Membrey. Archie. Again, clean in tight. Shares it with Yo. And well done by McKenzie. Tough one to take. Running back with the flight of it. And a bit of urgency about the Saints just at the moment. Good Austin. Kick. Good switch kick out to half back. And it's marked by Billings.
Definitely time in this game for the Saints to have a shot at this. They're just going to keep their heads, use the ball clean, which hasn't been a feature all night, but just if they get a couple of minutes of clean ball use, 1 or 2 more goals, this is game on.
West Coast in no hurry. The Saints love to just creep 1 or 2 closer. And this Phillips taking in a strong tackle. And get another ball up. West Coast aiming for their 10th win in a row. Club record is 12 back in 1991. Hickey after Webster just pushed as he got his kick away, but the Saints continue to go forward. Steele quickly on the boot. Inside 50, Membrey.
Gee, positioned himself well, Tim Membrey, because they had a loose defender, West Coast, and he found the front of the space where the quick kick was most likely to go. Gets on the receiving end, and this would be goal number 6, matching Josh Kennedy at the other end. Well, this would really bring the game alive.
He's been outstanding. He's had Jeremy McGovern all night. McGovern's had a bit of the ball, but G. Membrey's been impressive.
They are finishing strongly, the Saints.
Kicked one from the same spot a short time ago.
He has had the kicking boots on tonight, Tim Membrey. This to bring St Kilda right back into it. And from nowhere, the margin is back to 18, and the Saints have some momentum.
Doesn't seem so long ago it was an 8-goal game, and we were worried about it really tipping over. And that man there, Adam Simpson, all of a sudden looks a little concerned. And what's amazed me is how strongly St Kilda are starting to run the game out. They've got the sniff of something here.
They certainly have, and really it's come from some clearance work, some really grunt around the ball. The Saints midfielders have started to get on top. This guy's been a star all night. He's finally getting some reward, and for the first time it almost seems like the crowd's into this game.
Certainly into the game down here. They're getting vocal. The Saints have had some little wins all night. The clearance game has been the Saints' favour, and as I've mentioned, they've stopped the run of the Eagles.
You see the score won't take a sharp dip in this final term, and now it is game on here at Optus Stadium. The Saints making a big push in this final quarter. West Coast need to find a steadier as they go short to Waterman.
Well, you'd sense they might try to kick the ball around, just get a bit of momentum back their way, take the sting out of this St Kilda run.
Saints still need 3 in 4.5 minutes. Natanui after it, the quarter play on, not paid the mark. It spills out to Sinclair, who got it back. Now Webster. Austin. Webster again. Oh. Kick has to be good. It was aggressive, but they've turned it over. West Coast on the counter-attack. No. Good tackle. And dispossessing Kennedy. White's handball, excellent. Loney just chips it up. Tough one, not 15. Gaff call to play on. Cole. Hearn. He'll go short to Shepherd.
Gee, Jack Loney's last 2 kicks have been disappointing. One out in the full and then one a turnover. And both times he had teammates in space. He's got to be better with that.
Brad Shepherd in no rush as he sends it up to the 50. Kennedy flying. Lacroix out the back. Webster right there. Kick smothered. After it is Archie. Cripps got it back to Gaff. Cool head, and he poked it in short to Elliott Yeo.
We said it very well, perhaps. It was a cool head, and that's unfortunately been the difference for the Saints. Their effort's been strong, their clearance work, they're right up there with contested possessions and whatnot, but just the cool head and the smart ball use has been the difference between the two sides.
Oh, Richardson up off his seat. Adam Simpson's just had a few nervous moments in this final quarter. The heart rate's jumped up for the Eagles and their fans in the last few minutes. They've had a bit of a scare. Elliott Yeo almost sees it off. He's missed.
Point nearly as good as a goal, though, doesn't it? Takes it out. So now 4 kicks, not 3.
Under 3 minutes to go. And it has been a good fight back by St Kilda. That handball really set Savage a task, and then Austin bundled over, and it causes the turnover.
And when they go quick and they take risks, they just don't have that composure to deliver the kick that needs to be delivered. But you cannot question the fact that they've stuck at this all night and really fought hard, the Saints.
Long ball into the pocket. Natanui flying. He's trying to jump from 3 deep. Savage, Stephen. Just the barrel out of the back pocket, and good hands from McCartan.
Fantastic, mate.
Who wants to keep it moving. And he blasts it long up inside the centre square. Gresham, strong spoil away by Shepherd. Loney's got it. He just waited and hesitated for a moment, looking for an option, and he's found one. Nunes.
Options everywhere.
The seconds continue to tick down as he sends it into the pocket, and Gresham, who can't really waste too much time with a kick. Certainly unlikely from here, but he needs to get a wriggle on, but also put it through. Got one in this final term.
What sort of kicks he going?
Check side.
So from the pocket, the check side from Gresham. No problems with that. And he puts it through. The Saints creep closer again. 1:31 to go, and it's a 13-point lead.
There is still time.
Did you see this?
No, not at all. I don't think many people would have.
No one would have.
I mean, it's been a great response.
I've been critical of Jack Loney for his last two kicks. That was a beauty.
Yeah.
That was a beauty.
And then Nunes played it quite well. He just was patient. There were options all streaming into the forward 50. He just was calm, composed, and this guy is a star in front of goal. 6 last week, another 2 tonight.
So much talk about their goal kicking and how poor it's been this season. They've kicked 9 straight from set shots tonight.
1:31. 13 points the margin. It was 48 at three-quarter time as West Coast tried to get the clearance. Sheed and Yo in there. Stephen desperate after it. Got it out to Webster. They'll go forward again, the Saints. Hickey delayed it to McKenzie, who'll go off the outside of the boot. A high one inside 50. Gresham, but McGovern with a big, strong defensive mark.
Did his best, Gresham, but there was no one there capable of making a contest in the air. That was the disappointing thing from St Kilda's perspective.
Time certainly the enemy of St Kilda. As McKenzie takes a strong grab. No, not paid.
Looked a good grab.
Redden. McKenzie back in there to win it again. And they're going to come up short, the Saints, but it's been a brave fight back in this final term.
Really interesting to see the response from Adam Simpson post-game too.
Yeah. Whether
he's a little filthy on his boys for taking the foot off the gas or acknowledges the lifted effort and the better effort from the Saints.
Steele sends it inside 50. Membrey there, but McGovern again.
He's too good, this bloke. He's just too good. Kick the ball in the air anywhere near him at your peril.
Does anyone read it better in the game?
No. And goes for his marks all the time as well.
Oh, the Eagles are chasing his signature for a contract or a new contract.
And a few other clubs, perhaps.
A lot of other clubs. Just about all of them, you would think. 12 marks tonight for Jeremy McGovern.
It's got to be deliberate.
Yeah. Should be not enough intent there from Sheed. West Coast will get away with the win. And they have stopped virtually in this final term as Ross sends a high ball forward. Membrey there, knocked it down. Sinclair, Billings feeds it back, and there it is. They had a real scare in the last quarter, West Coast, but it's a perfect 10 for the Eagles. 10 wins in a row to the halfway point of the season with a bye to come next week. And they hold off the Saints in the end by 13 points.
Kings of the big game, we're the Eagles, we're flying high, we're the Eagles.
Well, they got the job done. It's 10 in a row for West Coast. And they did it very comfortably for 3 quarters. They dropped off in the last quarter. Hard to say whether they stopped or whether it was just an extraordinary effort from the Saints. We'll learn more when we hear from the coaches post-game. But you've got to take your hat off to St Kilda, but West Coast just continue on their winning way. And they are going to be one heck of a force in 2018.
Well, particularly if they do continue on this way and get a couple of home finals here at Optus Stadium, they're making it a real fortress. Incredibly hard to come here and win over here in WA. Credit to St Kilda, they did come back very well, but too good in the end, West Coast, as we head down to...
We'll go down to Ben Dixon in just a second. There's clearly not a lot of celebration out there from the West Coast Eagles players. They have got the victory, but
not thrilled with the effort.
A big scare it was in the end.
Well, no doubt, Jace, both St Kilda lifted their level, but West Coast took the foot off. There's no question of that.
Yeah, and they did have to do it without Jack Darling, who was injured early in the game. There's no doubt about that, but I think Ben Dixon's been able to track down one of the absolute stars of the game, and that was West Coast defender Jeremy McGovern.
Thanks very much, Jason. Jeremy, a little bit of a scare in that last quarter. They kept coming, the Saints, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. As a credit to them. They definitely come hard at us, especially in that last. They sort of hung in there all day. Didn't feel like we were really on top, but no, as a credit to them, we're lucky to hold on, I think.
What did Simo identify at half-time? Because we were watching the game. It looked like you're in full control, but you couldn't quite get that speed of ball movement. So tell us exactly what he said.
Yeah, we probably fell into their game a little bit. Like you said, that speed of ball movement. Sometimes we forced it, a few bad skill errors. But, yeah, it didn't really feel like we had it on our terms. So it's a credit to Saints.
What about you? A couple of telling marks in the last quarter. That's your bread and butter, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's my bread and butter, but yeah, no, it was all right, I guess. So we were lucky to get the win. So I just play my role every week, mate. If I can take a few clunks here and there, it's always a bonus.
We asked Simo before the game about the 9 in a row, and did you expect it or not? He said, listen, we've just got to ride the wave. What about as a player? That's 10 in a row now.
Yeah, it's nice winning. Everyone wants to win. We definitely don't. You set yourself every week to win, but you know, we're 10 in a row now. Everyone says 10 in a row is a big thing, but to be honest, mate, we're taking it week by week and just enjoying our footy, to be honest.
It's a great start to the season. Well done, Jeremy.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
How laid back is he? He said, I'll just play my role. If I can take a few clunks, it's a bonus. He's had a big night tonight, 21 possessions, 12 marks, 4 of them contested. He is one of the premier players in the competition, certainly one of the best 2 or 3 defenders.
He had his work cut out, though. He was on Tim Membrey for a large portion of the night. Membrey had a lot of the ball himself, so we understand how good he is at intercepting the marks and setting it up. But it was the interesting point just there, as the song was going, that a lot of the West Coast leaders were having a chat. You could see they were being a bit animated, so no doubt disappointed with that last quarter.
Which means they're setting high standards for themselves, and that's what you want to see when you're one of the teams that's in the mix for the big stuff.
The Saints just hang around out on the ground at the moment because there's a presentation being made. That artwork there is actually being created while the game was going on by the Indigenous artist Cam Sani, the one that has created. So a very good effort by putting those artworks together tonight. So West Coast posing for a photo.
Still not that many smiles, are there?
Just relief, I think, for the West Coast Eagles. And that 10 in a row, the 3rd longest streak in club history. They won 11 on the trot in 1996 and 12 in a row to start the 1991 season. So despite the fact they're not celebrating just at the moment, West Coast, they've set their season up extremely well, still on top of the ladder, a game clear on top of the ladder, and looking to build after the bye into the second half of the year.
And it surprised even their own coach, Adam Simpson. He's admitted recently that he didn't see this coming. He didn't really know what was in this group. Obviously, a number of young players playing. But what it can be said is there's a number of the players that were probably played in that 2015 grand final that are really stung by the last couple of seasons.
Let's get back down to Ben Dixon with Josh Kennedy.
Thanks very much, Pat. Josh, bit of a scare. I spoke to Jeremy McGovern, but you watched it unfold in that quarter. What did you pick out that the Saints were doing really well?
Oh, mate, they just took it on and we couldn't get our hands on the footy and we turned it over and they had elite pressure and, yeah, we just we couldn't get it out of their forward half and lucky towards the end, obviously Big Gov took a couple of clunks and, yeah, we just didn't get it done in the last quarter.
Your partner in crime down in the first half, did you go to him at half-time, Jack Darling, and give a little bit of support?
Look, yeah, no, he was floating around. We didn't get to catch him, but I think he was up ice and so, yeah, he rolled the ankle. Lucky we got the bye, so hopefully in a couple of weeks he'll be right and get back into it.
What about Simo three-quarter time? Felt like the game was in full control, but as a coach, I know what Simo's like you on the edge. What did he say three-quarter time to close it out?
Oh, look, we just need to keep doing the same thing we've been doing. Don't go away from our roles and keep the work rate up. But like I said, they brought the elite pressure and, yeah, we couldn't get our hands on the footy. We turned it over and we got stuck in their forward half. And lucky enough at the end, we ended up getting a win. But, yeah, we'll take it.
It's been an outstanding start to the season. We spoke to Simo. He's happy. You guys must be happy and continue that to the break.
Yeah, no, man, it's been great. And it's good to have a couple of days off now and chill out.
Thanks, Josh.
Cheers, mate. Thanks, Steve.
Josh Kennedy there with Ben Dixon. 6 goals tonight for him. West Coast with a real scare in the end tonight. The Saints, as they head off the ground, had a great last quarter. But West Coast win 10 in a row after a victory tonight by 13 points.